that one. Oh, you better not have other copies.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead and call the June 15th, 2023 Budget Committee meeting to order at 6:33 PM. Call the roll whenever you are ready, sir.
Dr. Acuff.
Present.
Sheila Gwynn.
Here.
Brad Johnson.
Here.
Danny Deal.
Here.
Layla Ward.
Here.
Donnie Cable.
Here.
Aaron Frazier.
Here.
Cody McQueen.
Kelly Collins sitting in for Cody McQueen. All right. Next up, floor is open for a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Beal, any corrections, additions, modifications, or changes that anybody would like to have? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
I'll abstain.
Agenda.
Oh, I thought we were doing it.
No, agenda.
Oh, sorry. Scratch that, sorry.
Change Mr. Collins abstaining, aye, please. Thank you, sir. All right, review and approve minutes from the budget hearing, not already approved. Do we have any in here that aren't, that we did not get coverage on over the past couple of days?
Never mind.
Nope, no minutes. All right, moving on. Floor is open for public comments. If you'd like to speak, please state your name and your address and take the photo. Hearing none, moving on. Additional discussions for EMS ambulance funding. All right, what's up? When you're going to it all?
No. Basically, I mean, the only thing that I can put in as far as additional comments on that, it is taken out of the ARP. There were two in there at one point. Both of those have been taken out. There does look like there was a gap in between, went through financial management. It was going to be discussed in budget. That never occurred. So at this point, there is no funding appropriated for the ambulance. So it would be up to this committee or the commission to make a decision on how that goes forward or it does not.
You're already at the end of this year's budget. It was never brought on the floor, it was never on the agenda, it was never discussed.
That's correct.
Okay, so you don't have to.
Because next year's funding rolls around relatively shortly, and isn't this the same? But this was the ambulance that they had requested for next year.
In their budget request, for the 4-year contract that we agreed to, $777,470, which $200,000 of that allocates to the rescue squad. And the request is for the main focus to increase the pay of 2 additional ambulance crews to another 911 ambulance a day. And then in their budget workup that they handed out to us, there is a ambulance in it. So that means the contract, you get 1 per year. But it's 777 every year for 4 years. And that 777 reflects a new ambulance every year, and their money makes it, I mean, their budget is written up. Okay. So. Well, that makes up, well, Director, maybe you need to explain it to me. If you're total amount was 777,000 and some change, right? Out of that 777,000, I pre-calculated, it's this annual budget that you presented there, correct? Okay, so there's an ambulance in this budget.
That was the previous ambulance that was already there.
No, it ain't a previous is written on the model.
But when we talked, we took that out.
This is this year's request.
The extra money was just for 2 more crews, not even the trucks to put them in,
Well,
just.
I mean, it's self-explanatory on the bottom. Where the statement of the current budget request on the bottom of it is just what it says with our 2 ambulance crews. You're gonna put 1 ambulance in a day use, correct? Verbatim, this main focus of the increase is to pay for 2 additional ambulance crews. Add another 911 ambulance during the day.
Oh, not to buy the ambulance, just to put people on one.
Okay, then in your breakdown of your request, it has an ambulance in it.
And when I was told about the ARP,
ARP's gone.
I understand,
Okay. Well, I'm
I
sorry.
understand. But we came, and I came right here and said, do not need that ambulance. Because the ARP was, they even put it in the minutes that we've got, that the ARP was for that ambulance, because that way you didn't have to take it out of the general fund or anything else. It's, I know it's been a long time and a different disease and everything else, but it's not an ambulance every year. That ambulance was took out, supposed to have been took out. And we bought the 1 ambulance for the ARP, and that was it. That was it.
Well, the break,
I'm trying to save the county money, but not taking it out of the general fund.
well, the breakdown in the time frame was it had been removed from ARP.
We never even was notified. We thought it was still there, because everything I had, it was still there.
I'm not denying that, Drew. I understand, but I'm saying where it lies was right here. It never made it to the floor. It was taken off the list in financial management by the chief of the budget chair, which is on the financial management time, was going to bring it to the budget committee. It never made it through that double door right there. You could find no minutes of such.
Well, now, where's the August minutes? That's where we missed it last time. The August minutes that was not produced last.
No, the August minutes, I've got,
And I think-
hang on a minute. I have the August minutes right here, August 1st, and that was financial management. And,
No, for the budget committee.
okay, as far as budget, hang on a minute. I don't know if I printed that one off or not, because it never made it any farther. Financial management met, and it was suggested to take off the EMS vehicle because they're already purchasing one from budget funds, and at this time, they do not have the workforce to staff in a vehicle. Commissioner James made a motion, they eliminate the 500,000 for oatmeals and change the 600,000 for the fire departments to 750 to include the oatmeals. And then Commissioner James also made a motion to remove EMS ambulance funding from ARP and send to budget committee to get the extra funds for the bariatric ambulance. And then Commissioner Holdren seconded that, the motion carried. And then unfortunately, I'm thinking that after this, we had an election.
There wasn't a budget meeting in September.
We didn't have anything in September, so that's why everything jumped to October. And James was our last budget chair, so that's the last that I could find, and I spent hours going over this. Doc, what did you find anything different from what I found? So,
Chair,
Go ahead.
I'm a little disappointed in how this was handled.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that it had come out of financial management because I took over in October, so.
When it left health and welfare, we prioritized all of the projects and issues for the county. That ambulance was still at the top of the list. The other thing that really angers me is that if there was no communication to let the director know that it had been removed, we got egg on our face.
Yeah.
And We've talked about a lot of rules and regulations over the past number of months for this new commission, and we're still not meeting up to snuff, in my opinion. If we can't communicate with our constituents or someone that is coming through the door and placed on ARP funding, because remember, the sole purpose that we set forward to do in ARP funding was for utilities, first responders. Those were the two top priorities. So I got a real problem how they got slipped off the list and nobody notified them.
I understand.
Well, if I may go direct,
Go ahead.
it's not a matter of notification, it's at the period when it took place. On the financial management side, everything was according to policy, procedure, process, and everything till it got to this door. And the time period of when it was removed by then was the chair to the budget committee with the comment that they would bring it to budget. So here inside this wall is where it didn't make its presentation. Everything else prior to that was according to oil, according by the rule.
Hey, Johnson, excuse me, do you remember when I kind of told you to take that out because I did not?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did that because the ARP money was going to buy the ambulance. I just wanted to make sure that you.
The ambulance was a part of the topic and discussion at the time, which Commissioner Cable there was present, that then they were thinking about placing a building on 221, and that was going to be a substation
Install that.
and possibly for a salt bin for the road department and either a pumper truck or a tanker truck for the fire department. Then it was proved, that it was not sufficient room to put a building on, to put a building to be operated. Second, since all the fire departments were going to be given X amount of dollars, all of them be treated identically the same. So the new piece of equipment that the fire department wanted, it's up to them and their board to purchase out of the amount that was given to the fire department. And then your presentation was that you could not man the thing.
All that there.
And so at that same meetings where they said, okay, we say, let's take it off. Because there was there's one supposed to be on order or was going to be proposed out of the regular budget. And that's the one that Commissioner James was to bring in here because there was a money difference of, I may be wrong, $40,000 because it was going to be the type of equipment that is on it because of heavy people or whatever y'all in.
Bariatric.
And that was what they were going to bring in here, that they had the basic squad unit in their budget, in their budget, and they would add more to it to bring the more exclusive or the more useful of a squad unit. So the additional money that was to be brought in here never made it in here.
I just like the ARP money. And, it was there. You said everybody was treated equally. Well, we wasn't. We've never gotten no ARP money in the county. And I came here with honesty and it brought a lot of confusion. That's why I came before you all and told you I did not need that ambulance because the ambulance was going to be bought by the ARP money. It's on our list. It was approved, I don't know if it came in here, I don't know.
Okay, but where's your approval? There was no purchase order.
I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't,
You're the requester. You have to have a purchase order to purchase outside, right?
I couldn't do nothing because they didn't have the truck at that time.
They didn't have one.
The truck,
Oh, I know.
the numbers, if I could have got a hold of the VIN numbers and they'd have told me, I would have gone straight down here. But I couldn't do it because we hadn't done anything.
I know at the Health and Welfare Committee meeting on June the 7th of 22, there was a discussion and you all, according to the minutes, you all recognized that this ambulance we were asking for ARP money was separate from the one on the budget request. And you voted to keep it on the list for the ARP funds. And I think that was Jerry Prophet that made her second it. I mean, it's in the minutes that you all realized it's two different ambulances for two different purposes.
Well, also, it's a separate committee from us as well, so bear that in mind.
That's true, that's true. But they understood it was two separate ambulances for two different purposes and voted to keep it on the list.
But that was till June, and in August, I mean, nothing was decided. They were still, because in August, they also cut the constables and they cut, sorry, I can't get my eyeballs to function today.
I don't see how it could be a second on the list.
Oh, it was the Shepherd's Inn. They cut the Shepherd's Inn and the constables from that funding list. So this whole time, they've been cutting as they felt the need. So it was never a,
What we should have done is cut that one ambulance that I came and mentioned. That was to be taken off, not the ARP.
and they did take it off.
You took both of them.
I'll just have to see what it was.
There's not enough money left in ARP for
No.
this.
ARP is,
40-some thousand.
Yeah.
most of the money on the ARP got, if I'm not mistaken, didn't it get rerouted for the water project?
No,
Was it?
TDEC.
That was TDEC, and then there was something that we had to swap out.
Well, we had, the only thing in the back on the ARP was at one time, we said it pretty well as said,
No, that's already gone through Fort Commissioner, and that's all set.
yeah, it was, we were at 168,000, then we had a change order on Dry Hill, which was not a TDEC.
Yeah.
It was come out here. And then you had the, what's the,
Dry Hollow?
no, the paddles.
Oh, AEDs.
AEDs on that, that was 7,500, then you had, an amount left of 47,500, I think it is, and that's it.
And
That was approved, so.
in the June 7th meeting, you still had 13 on there, which was Skyline, First Responders Radio, Essential Employees, Fire Association, Substation for Elk Mills, Constables, 911, their little mobile command center, the Health Department, Friends of the Shelter, the Spay and Neuter Clinic, I guess, and then Carter County EMS, which I'm assuming is y'all, Shepherd's Inn, United Way, and then the bridges that had to be done. And the mayor suggested that the Danner Bridge and Blevins Hollow be removed and taken out of the fund balance because it would be easier to do. But if you go down to the projects with ARP funds already approved by the commission was the Stony Creek Volunteer Fire Department and Hampton Volunteer Fire Department, which was for the buildings. The First Utility for Dry Hollow Water Line Extension, First Tennessee Development Administrative Fee for handling the ARP funding, and then purchase of 300 North Main Street, which was Lisa Rice's building for the Planning Commission, and then the courtroom live stream equipment. So that was the only things in June. June 7th had actually been approved by the commission, out of the ARP funds. That's it.
Okay.
Everything else was still up in the air and questionable.
Now, there was a reserve placed in the ARP in the amount of 300 was for the water project for the change order. Because there was none prior to that. So that's, I'm gonna say, it's designated for change order, but I'm gonna say it can be used for other, but if you run into problems on your contracts, then you don't have anything to cover it.
Yeah, so you're talking about the TDEC water project. We have reserve funds in the ARP to pay for the change orders in there because the TDEC funds are completely exhausted. And we've had 110,000 in change orders so far. How close is it to completion? How close is it to completion?
Well, that, we don't know because we have continually asked First Tennessee Development District to keep us chimed in on percentage completion. Or the route it is because we're the paymasters. That way we can know what the contract is. and we have not received anything, is that correct? Nothing, not a day. So anybody's guess.
Certainly get our 1.5%, or what was it, 3%? Okay. So. It was directed back from the Financial Management Committee. Lost in translation somewhere there in the middle. So it's a legitimate thing to have on here and have the discussion about. Now, new information in that the contract amount that they have requested includes the funding for the ambulance.
Yeah.
Because I asked Attorney Harden,
The very last note on the bottom of it, it's even got different, it says, purchase another ambulance for county approval last budget. Meeting said, he said, 247,000, and that was the amount that's been worked on ever since.
so the 777 was over the 4 years?
Yeah, well, no, that's per year. That is X amount for the rescue squad and X amount for the emergency service. And then when you go through each one of the pages, and you calculate what their line items are down, they all just that per year. And this body has approved their contract for that amount annually, which was reviewed by our county attorney. So if it's not one every year, then what did the additional money, what's the additional money? Because it's set for 4 years.
Okay. This is one ambulance over the life of the contract.
Where do you see that? 277,
Um,
now next year you're going, I mean, that's 777. So next year you're gonna get 777.
no, this is just the capital payments.
Yeah, I know, but you go back through the line items and you'll see that.
Not sure if the bottom one on there is supposed to indicate 247 for the whole.
See the notation on the bottom down there is that that was county approved in their budget. That's, you know, that's what they're deal on. That's it.
Last budget. So this would have been the 22-23.
That would be 22, 23, that's what I'm saying. Like, that won't be in this.
Last year,
Yeah.
because of that ambulance wouldn't get it, so we moved over. This year's a capital expense, but as I say, we had all deals, but
We found out we didn't even have a contract last year. It was never even signed, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so 22, the 23 wouldn't even been signed, even if it is there.
Well, right, but one thing to keep in mind with regard to the rescue squad and emergency services is that they are basically an outside agency. They tell us in this format, what they intend to do with the funding, but in reality, they can do whatever it is that they want to with the funding. So it's not a matter of whether the contract or not included it. If we were paying it, they could have used the funding to purchase an ambulance or do whatever with it.
I believe it's the EMA contract that wasn't signed.
You mean the 911? Yeah, the 911 contract definitely wasn't signed, but we've not had a contract with the rescue squad, I think, for the past 3 or 4 years.
It's been quite.
In health and wealth, we talked about that, and we haven't had a contract.
Which there's pros and cons to both directions. Because not having a contract gives them the flexibility to come back each year and meet whatever it is that has come up for them. And
The last contract we had, I'm sorry,
It was before COVID.
it was under Mayor Humphrey.
Yeah.
Put it for 1 year. And he tried to destroy us. Bottom line, he tried his best to get rid of it. I keep fighting for the people of this county to get them the healthcare that they should have, and it ain't cheap. You know, the 777 there was no allowance in that. It's great for employees. What's it say? Got a copy of the contract.
Yeah, because basically in here, the way that the capital purchases lays out, there's 4 ambulances in here. Well, at least 3. I don't know what the other one is. Because one says purchase of 1 ambulance, $198,000, $49,500. Carter County loaning and blah, blah, blah for ambulance, 41. And then there's 2 others on here that it doesn't say what those are for, but it's kind of irrelevant. So there's 2 ambulances included in this that were purchased. Oh, wait, no, the other one does say what it was for. It was for an ambulance. So there's been 3 ambulances purchased since when? At least one of them was done in 2021. So
We're still paying.
We're still paying for it, that's why it's in the budget.
that's why it's in the budget, obviously.
After all that is said and all that discussion, it still is nothing in the budget. That's what you gotta overcome.
Because it wasn't in the 22-23 budget, so it would be strictly just a outside agent or a unassigned fund balance funding to go through and do it. So how do you guys want to proceed with it?
Didn't the welfare, health and welfare vote to put this as a top priority and it passed?
One of the top, broadband was the number 1 issue.
Right.
It was number 10. Was that number 10, I think?
Well, that was the June list because that got
But you had
revised.
13 there, that was the top priorities.
Because it got revised in July and it got revised again later before we finalized it. We finalized it, what, at the September meeting or the October meeting?
Finalized it, was it on?
The final list came in prior to the August meeting. So it had to been done in July.
So no, well, that couldn't be the case because it was still on there up until the August meeting for financial management.
First day of August. So I say July meeting of the one, and as soon as it come out of the list, it came into financial management on the first day of August.
Well, I'm saying obviously it was on the list.
Well,
Oh, yeah, there's
but then they've got a motion and everything to remove it from the list in there, and that went through full commission.
Wasn't that just to send it to budget?
That was to send it to budget for basically the unassigned fund balance. Not to have it come out of the ARP funding, because all the ARP funding has been since reassigned. And as Mr. Johnson said, $300,000 of it was set aside for change orders for the water project, the T-Deck water project.
So we need to decide whether this is gonna come out of the unassigned fund balance or not gonna get it at all. Is that, do I understand correctly where we stand?
I think that's where we're at.
That you'd have to take it out of the $300,000 set aside for the water projects. That would be the only way it can come out of ARP because you don't have the funds.
Well, and you're gonna have to have a 2/3 majority to override that through the full commission if you go that route to change how the funding is set for the ARP. No, it wouldn't take 2/3 here. It would just take 2/3 in the full commission to override it and change it.
The big question is, for me, is what condition are the trucks in? We got, what's the mileage on the trucks? What,
All my trucks and stuff. Well, I don't have it in front of me.
He's over 300,000 that they've inspected.
Probably maybe
I
over
was
three
thinking
hundred thousand.
I was thinking 3.
And because every 30,000 miles, we have to have it inspected, statewide.
We have 12 and 3 of them are over 300,000.
I think the youngest one we've got's got 97,000 on it. I think that's more in the bank.
What's the delivery date?
Well, I gave them the paperwork. I mean, it's sitting up there ready to be picked up, all held up. They give me 30 days. Was that last week? They gave me 30 days to pick it up, or they're gonna resell it.
Is that from the invoice date?
From the date of the letter. Because I couldn't put it, those, everything up, so they're just in. He said in 30 days they would put it on the market.
I believe the 30 days is up,
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
30 days is up June the 9th.
July 9th?
July 9th.
June 9th, it's already sold.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, do you have any resources that you can put toward this thing? Do you have any resources of your own that you can put toward this?
It would take a long time.
I'd have to, I've got so much setback for, in case we never get followed, I still pay the employees.
And we have more employees than we did, which is a blessing.
We're building up with employees, and that's where we're trying to build up too. Get along maybe, I guess.
I'll make a motion then. This is it right here, right? 221,000, is that it? 172.
To my knowledge, this is the document we have in front of us, so that's what we have to go by.
Because in light of where we sit with the ICU and Sycamore Falls Hospital, I don't really see a whole lot of choices here. So I'll make the motion that the 221,872 come from unassigned fund balance.
Got a motion by Kelly Collins to pay the Burke County Emergency Rescue Squad Services $221,872 for the purchase of an ambulance.
Second.
Second by Layla Ward. Discussion.
Now, you take that out of your unassigned fund balance and you look what the committee has already done, obligated to unassigned fund balance. That coming on outside agency, charity organization, all that, you're going past the red line.
180,000. This will put you at 400,000.
So which one is it going to do? You're going to go against, you're going to eliminate the outside agency charity organization, or you're going to get the squad? That's the choice you got.
Are you referring to the balance that has to be maintained in the unassigned fund
I'm not
balance?
gonna put us under.
You're going to maintain a certain amount.
Maintenance is supposed to be about,
Amount.
I think because it's 60 or 30, it's 60 days that we have to maintain, or quarterly. that we have to maintain in the unassigned fund balance.
Quarterly, I think.
It's quarterly. So out of $40 million quarterly, you've got to maintain, I forget the percentage, I think it was 35%. Because I was set it on financial management like 6 years ago. and Travis
I
made
don't
those.
remember off the top of my head, but that sounds about right.
Right, 30 or 35%. Because I remember Travis is the one that bumped it up from 25%.
We have more than what is federally or state required, not federal, state required.
That's common knowledge because they spend that of it every month.
Touche.
Well, I mean, I really don't want to, but I think we've already obligated it. I mean, it went through a committee that voted on it, went through health and welfare, it did.
It was not voted on.
Health
It's right
and
here.
Health and welfare it was. That's the
Health
committee.
and welfare had no dog in the fight. All they were asked to do
They just-
was to.
Well, why'd we send it to health and welfare then?
And we did it, and we've sent it back to
We
finance.
asked to send it to them,
They sent it.
prioritize, and they did.
Okay, then that's what we went with prioritization. Until the information that was provided to that panel or that committee came out with a motion to remove it.
I thought to send it back to budget. I didn't think it was actually to remove it.
Financial management removed it from the motion by a member, which was James at the time, and seconded and voted with 100% vote to send it to budget.
To send it and take
It
it
go in
out
that door.
of unassigned fund balance.
No. It was on the ARP list then.
I thought you just said you all voted, financial management voted to take it off of the ARP and send it to budget to come out of unassigned fund balance.
You're exactly right.
Then why?
But still, you have,
And then
the
why?
reason
Here
being,
now that we're just a couple months late doing it.
the background of it was that your budget here is the one that made the motion to bring it in here to budget because it was a unit that was already identified. All they had to do was add additional money to it to upgrade it to whatever form of truck it is. And it never made it through the door.
Is this the bariatric unit or not?
This here,
Yeah.
yeah, it's got.
This is the bariatric unit?
See, that's just the money difference between the two.
What was the original amount on the ARP funds?
That was a
What
balance.
was the original, no, the original in there for this?
I think it was 241.
241.
Well, it's on here, I'm guessing this county approved last budget is the 247 for the ARP. And this one's 26 less.
And
I thought the bariatric unit was the one that was 240, was the one that it was much higher,
Yeah, it was 241, 124.
241. So you're sure this one's the bariatric one? This one's coming in at 221.
Well, it's got the beriatric
The power load
list,
structure.
and stuff, that's what makes it the bariatric.
Otherwise, there's not a lot of changes between the two. It has the cot that loads itself, so the crew doesn't have to lift it. It loads
That's
itself
about $52,000
just by itself.
just for that.
We're not sure why it came back cheaper than they originally projected, but glad it went that way, not more expensive.
Well, it just made me pause because I'm like, $9,000 normally doesn't disappear.
Yeah, I paused it too. Didn't believe it. That's the, it's set up there for that right there price.
Motion on the floor. Seconded it, anyway.
For the second.
Anybody else? Mr. Perry, call roll.
Al Craig,
Aye.
Sheila Quinn,
No.
Brad Johnson,
No.
Danny Deal,
No.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Donnie Cable.
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
No.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Well,
I don't like the fact that it was without the okay, I guess is what worries me. I mean, that would be like if the constables had ordered $10,000 worth of body equipment and then taken off. So it was done a little premature, I think, but
Well, I
I'd still
think,
like to see them get it. But that's why I was asking too, is there any possibility that you could help?
Like I said, I can go to the bank. I don't have
I
cash.
don't know.
Mr. Chair.
go ahead, Mr. Deal. Go ahead.
The ARP funds, it's earmarked for the $300,000 for the water projects.
Yes, sir.
Maybe if we get lucky and all the stars align, that we could come under that and not spend that money. Spend what is projected and then bring this back up to maybe come out of the ARP funds that would be left over. Because I support it, I mean, I support the rescue squad and the first responders, but, you know, taking $221,000 out of the unassigned fund balance, I don't think is a good move for us right now because we have some unforeseen things.
I'm not trying to silence you, but if you guys will permit me, I know I'm not supposed to do this as a chair, but
Don't do
I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna do it anyway, so Josh can fuss at me later. How these others are done, where you guys go get the loan, pay it, and then we do it on an annual basis. In this budget cycle, that would be a whole lot easier to bite. If basically we were like, okay, we're gonna give you the first year. We were gonna give you the first year of this 221,000. We're gonna give you, you know, whatever it is. Let's say we do it over, 5 years or 5 or 6 years, whatever it is. And we break it down like these others are done, because this makes it a much easier pill to swallow. And as you've got it contracted out, as these rotate off, if the contract stays the same and these budget items are in here for the same thing, then that will give you basically one ambulance every year, like Mr. Johnson said, because there's 1, 2, 3 that are on here that we have already purchased. And I don't know how far back they go or anything like that, but the earliest one listed on here is 2021. And that makes it an easier thing to do, because if you say, okay, you say you've got one that's 300,000 that you're about to replace. Well, this one could replace it. But if it had been, and I understand that you thought it was on the ARP, you never got notified or anything, otherwise you might have modified it to do that for this particular one. I think that's a better way to do it. That way it's broken down over 5, 6, 7 years, and we know the funding is going to be there, and the funding is going to line out to be there for it. And it makes it a smaller chunk that we have to do whenever we're already looking at, we're 180,000 out of the unassigned fund balance. It's not even July 1st yet. That would be my call. If we, you do the loan on it, all the interest is already calculated in. We've got the annual payment. This is what it's going to be on the annual basis. And then it goes in with your annual contract. Because like I said, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 3 on here at least, potentially 4. I don't know what the other one's for, but there's at least 3 on here. So as these roll off, you're going to have more funding available over the next 4 years under this contract to pick up where this funding left out of, basically. So that would be my call, because $50,000 bite is a whole lot easier to justify and to get your mind around than 221,000 all in one chunk. But Mr. Dealey is correct. If we could ever get some feedback on the water project and it's 75% done and we still got $200,000 sitting there, probably pretty safe.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
That's true, but there is, from the financial management side, our finance director is to schedule a meeting here at the courthouse with First Tennessee Development District to so we can parlay as to who's responsible for what. They are paid by contract to be an administrator only. We do all the finance, paying the bills. But there's been no communication. We've already found one large error on their part on authorizing change order in X amount of dollars without authority to spend government money. So with that being said, that what Commissioner deals with is 100% right. The type of projects that the TDECs are, the AE contracts, we have not seen yet. And we know that they're in design. But if they were, I've experienced in the past in that field, if there was a design with a bid deduct alternate or an add alternate on each one of the design, that means that that designer can bring it into within close dollars of what the amount they are awarded. And the change orders would be to an extreme minimal unless it was things such as unforeseen site conditions.
You find a sinkhole.
You could run into that, but they should be, and I'm hoping that there would be a great amount of that remaining.
You said we've already had $110,000 in change orders?
Well, the last one was 60 that we found that was unauthorized, and then they came in and asked for payment. And, you got one in your mouth and one in another. Wait for the whistle to blow and see what you got, which hands. But they would, I would think under good management, there should be a considerable amount left over, unless that they've got a poor design. The only thing we've got to watch then is the money has to be obligated by a certain date. And we've been waiting on this TDEC money. Now we're going into the second year and it hadn't been granted yet. We hadn't received it yet.
So the TDEC funds haven't been issued out yet?
Oh, from what I understand, from what information we've been given, they're at First Tennessee Development District. It's at State of Tennessee.
But it should be, last I heard, maybe July or August of this year.
Great. See, it was July, August last year.
This year too.
So
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't,
That was why we had to hurry up and wait.
but with that amount, there's a great possibility, Commissioner Deal, that we will have that to where we could use for that purpose. But the amount, we're unsure of till you get, the biggest part of the project's done, to where you don't run into unforeseen site conditions.
Yeah, because they've technically not even started yet, if the funds haven't been released yet.
Well,
How do we have a $60,000 change order that ain't even started work yet?
Oh, this was on the dry hollow project.
Oh, okay.
See where they had problems with fire. Well, the comment was, when we got down to it, not bore you, but we found additional lines that wasn't involved in the drawing. Well, what about it? You got hunting for it, you got X amount of dollars to spend. Secondly, you've already went in and put that pipe in without permission. Well, who authorized who, engineer, and who authorized who, contractor? And it turns out that the other agency authorized it, which has zero authority. That's right. It comes on our backs here.
I think the discussion we had, I think next time will probably be a little different. So,
That's fine. They're gonna lose this under.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Well, we're not gonna lose it. I guarantee it won't sit there one day on the lot. Nobody's in a loss except he's not gonna get what he expected. But, and then it's another lesson learned. They're saying, well, it was on the ART list. Well, good. Who brought it? The only thing that comes out of this county comes off this floor. Financial management, budget, health, welfare, there is no committee has the authority over top of the full commission. No dollar can be spent without them. So now, whose feelings is hurt? How did you find out? So, I mean, it's just rumor. It did not pass the full commission. Hadn't even been brought to the full commission, so why do you think you're obligated? Andrew?
All right, well, moving on. Review of additional department budgets. Who you got, Carolyn?
sorry. All right, so these are ones that we, as we look back through our notes and minutes, a couple of them were unclear if they had ever been technically approved. Parks and Rec, I know we discussed it, but I can't find where we approved it. The drug control, all the other stuff from the sheriff's department was done, but this one was left off of that, so we need an approval on it. Chancery Court did not have the employee raises in it. So the last one that it was reviewed did not have the employee raises in it, so that is the one that you have before you. And then drug court, I don't see that one ever came through.
I want to say we did a batch of these under one motion. But
Which one?
because I remember doing the ag services one, and I remember doing,
The ag service, but we went in and made a slight adjustment to it. So this
Oh, okay.
This approves the bond.
okay. The reason that there's two for Parks and Rec is Chad had set some of the line items out like we were gonna be paying for it, but it actually goes from Rome Mountain Community Park. So the one that's by itself is the one.
Yes. The other one in there is other public safety. That is the, what's the name of that board? It's over the sheriff's department.
Civil Service Board.
Yes, thank you. I've forgotten that like 4 times today.
Easy to do.
I'm like, it's that other board that we,
The other board, the other thing that does the thing. Yeah.
So they reduced the mowing, 10,000.
Yeah.
The fact that they bought.
We dropped at 8,000, dropped at 8,000 off of the original, I think it was 33 or 32 that they had asked for. So it dropped it off of that. But it should all be in one line item for Rome Mountain, so it'll be like 24.5. Because Mr. Perry thought that we paid it out, but that would be a nightmare for them to manage. So what happens is for all of these are basically 501c3s that have a memorandum of understanding with the county that they will provide the maintenance and upkeep on the parks as long as we provide the funding therefore. So if you want to go mow Rome Mountain, it would be about 30,000 a year just to mow it through a contract. Because Gap Creek Park's about 14 acres, and they've got about 39 acres. So
It'd be cheaper to get weed and grass killer.
probably, but I don't think the people in Rome Mountain would be very happy to have a giant brown field.
I'm just gonna start first, problem I get.
And the community garden would suffer.
Even better, we can plant our own garden.
Plant it all in wildflowers. Keep Carter County Beautiful happy.
So it's the bottom right-hand side where it has the various parks, you know, total of 64,500.
Yep.
That represents the cost of what?
That's the upkeep on Eric Anderson Park, Green Bridge Landing.
Yeah, I know, I see that there, but what is the nominal amount there? What does it represent?
The 64.5 or the,
24,500.
oh, the 24.5. That's mowing. That is the repairs and maintenance that they have to do. And that is there's another 10,000 in there that they want to set aside as a reserve in case they don't get a grant of $10,000 from the Elizabeth Arts and Cultural Alliance. Eric Anderson, God rest his soul, is the one that used to help them write their grant annually to pay for, and Rome Mountain went in and got $10,000 for a summer concert series up there of local artists, bluegrass artists, different things like that. Since Eric's passed away, that was also the grant writer for the Elizabeth Arts and Cultural Alliance. So they're not 100% certain they're going to get it back. And so the way that their budget, the way that it's structured is they'll need the 10,000 basically starting in July-ish, August-ish to pay out the remainder of the summer. They've only got about $10,000 a year. If they do get the grant, they won't need that extra $10,000. But if they don't,
Are they gonna give it back?
this is set to be in a reserve. that 10,000 is set to be in a reserve.
Now, that 64.5 actually represents the maintenance cost for all of them combined for 1 year. And then the addition above the 64.5 is the 10,000 project manager, the 30,000 grant.
Yeah, the project managers, Bob Trails and Trees for Gap Creek Park, the 319 grant we've already won. Basically $30,000 rolls out of our budget every year and back in, and this is just gonna be a reassignment because that 30,000 is still sitting there. It's just gonna come back over, but that's to pay the 10% match on the grant. Maintenance and repairs on Real Mountain, that was where Chad had like $3,500 and moved it. Mowing and maintenance, $10,000. That is specifically on Gap Creek Park. That's the annual contract for that. And then Blevins Road lighting, $800 bucks. I increased it a little bit because electricity prices have been going up.
Does the public use Gap Creek Park?
Do what?
Does the public use Gap Creek Park?
They would be able to if some things had gone differently, yes, but not at the moment, no.
We're paying $10,000 a year to keep it mowed. Nobody uses it.
That's correct.
Well, this is
And we tried to get somebody to just cut it in hay every year annually. We tried to get somebody to just cut it in hay and they refused to.
Well, that project is 2 years old.
It's actually older than that. It actually started before COVID.
Case in point.
The bridge got installed without a no-rise certification, which the Mattern and Craig is ready to do to get the no-rise certification. We just have to wait on the feds to come back on that. Then we can finish installing the bridge. And then the park can be opened. Because it doesn't have to be open for the 319 grant to finish. The 319 grant is installing a low water crossing. So when other construction goes on in there, they'll be able to get construction equipment into the field.
So the county's had the property since 2017.
It was actually, the property was bought in 2016. Is that correct?
What I saw was 2017, so I'm not sure. But we've already spent $182,000 over there, according to the records that finance has. And we still can't get to it.
Well, that's why that I have questions, of course. You got a project manager and there's a $10,000 bill right there when there's nothing going on. And then it cost me $10,000 to keep the yard mowed and we're not making any progress other than mowing the yard.
25.
For grant,
Do what?
it's part of the 25 going towards.
The 25 is for the dog park grant that we've already got. Before COVID, when we got the grant, 25,000 would have built the dog park. Now it doesn't even pay for the fence. And I think we're already a year past spending the dog park fund.
We've been in this 6 years
3 years, nothing happened.
and we're just scratching the surface really. We put $182,000 in. Is that what you seen? So what's the total project? What's it gonna cost? I mean, I'm talking a softball field, all these other things. Do they have a total cost of what that park will cost?
Yeah, we have the cost estimates that were done during COVID, not since then.
So what was the cost during COVID?
It was between 1.5 and 2 million. Because during COVID, the softball field was between 500 and 750,000. And the quote unquote accessible playground was between 470 and 520,000. Then $100,000 for a pavilion with bathrooms and all that fun stuff.
The softball field, is it gonna be for girls, boys, both, what?
Adults.
Adult softball field?
Yep.
So here's I played softball down here behind the jail for years, and the last year we had teams, I probably had teams for 10 or 12 years. And behind the jail, we got down to 4 teams. And that was including co-ed, church league. I mean, the league finally just dissolved because of the interest of getting it going. So if it was for kids, you know, I'd be gung ho. For adults, I'm a little bit leery because we had the fields down there. Our leagues dissolved, and then they made it into the girls' softball fields, the grade school girls' softball field, youth. So I don't know if that would be money well spent or not.
They're spending it, the current group that is doing it is spending their money at Windeer.
Yeah, I mean,
There's 6 or 8 teams, I think.
Yeah.
That are in that league.
I mean, some of my friends and former teammates, they travel over and play ball, but I'm just telling you that what happened to the league. And I would hate to sink $700,000 in a softball field and then play a year or two, and then it, you know, just my thoughts on it. And I have firsthand experience down there, so you know it. That's why I didn't know what the softball field was for. I thought it was a youth league softball field.
Nobody come forward and ask for the youth ones. And the adults aren't allowed to use the ones at the jail anymore. So the adults were the ones that wanted it. I've got people up in Stony Creek that ask me about it about every 2 weeks.
I'm sure you got some that do, but it's just my 2 cents.
The second one lights up, yeah.
The totals on both of them are the same. It's just where the money got shifted around. Any questions on any of the other ones?
Are we doing all these at once or just
No.
separately?
They
Separate, yeah.
Yeah, separately.
Be done separate. So it's record in the record.
Read a lack in their calculations. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion we accept.
Have a motion by Mr. Johnson to accept the Parks and Affairs Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Collins. Any other discussion? Call the roll, Mr. Perry.
Matt Rakeup,
Aye.
Julie Gwynn,
Yes.
Brad Johnson, Danny Deal,
Yes.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Johnny Cable.
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
Next, Drug Control Fund. This is exactly what it is, and it cannot be changed.
Motion to approve.
This is the one you go to jail for messing with, guys, so just the reason I'm. Motion by Gwen, do we have a second?
Second.
By Collins. Any discussion? Call the roll, Mr. Perry.
Greg Huff,
Aye.
Julie Gwynn,
Yes.
Brad Johnson. Danny Deal,
Yes.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Johnny Cable,
Yeah.
Aaron Frazier,
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
Next up, Chancery Court.
Is this the one that the employees will have the raise on it, and that's why that's
Yep.
only maybe fixed?
We did the initial when we did the 4%, but then I went back and looked because I couldn't find it and we had not presented that one with the employee raises in it.
And that was the only changes. That was the only changes from
Yes.
before when you had it.
Floor's open.
Motion to approve.
By Collins, second.
Second.
By Gwen. I'm noticing a pattern.
See it all of you.
Any discussion?
Hey, and
Any discussion?
Approve everything.
Before, I know why, I know why they last hours and hours.
Greg Huff,
Aye.
Julie Gwynn, Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Danny Deal,
Yes.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Johnny Cable,
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
Next up, Drug Court. Floor's open.
Motion to approve.
By Ward, we have a second.
Second.
Sorry, who is that?
Donnie.
Donnie, thank you, Mr. Cable. Discussion? Call the roll.
Greg Huff,
Aye.
Julie Gwynn,
Yes.
Brad Johnson. Yes. Danny Deal,
Yes.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Johnny Cable,
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
Next up, other public safety. What's this one for? Oh, this is the Civil Service Board.
Civil Service Board.
This is Civil Service Board.
And I did that one today, so I know we haven't done that one yet.
Okay. Floor is open.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Deal, do we have a second? By Mr. Johnson. Any discussion? Call the roll when you're ready, Mr. Perry.
Greg Huff,
Aye.
Julie Gwynn,
Yes.
Brad Johnson. Yes. Danny Deal,
Yes.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Johnny Cable,
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
Next up, Ag Services, Agricultural Extension Services.
Motion to approve.
By Glenn, second.
Second.
By Deal, any discussion?
What were the changes in this? Because I remember,
I just said I don't remember.
because I remember it coming up.
I don't think, was there any changes? We just couldn't remember.
I don't think she did.
I thought we did this one as as an outside agency.
No, we do not do this one as an outside agency. We made a minor change on it, but I apologize, I do not remember what it was. I looked at most of these twice today, so I'm
I just
sorry, I don't
remember it
remember.
coming up before in a meeting.
No, it's like a $3,000 change. I mean, from previous fiscal year.
Yeah, I mean, hers does not change much.
Yeah. All right. Call the roll when you're ready.
Greg Huff,
Aye.
Julie Gwynn, Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Danny Deal,
Yes.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Johnny Cable,
Yes.
Aaron Frazier,
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
All right, discussion of the 23-24 revenue budget and additional revenue needed. What you're about to tell me is somebody won the $1 billion lottery and set Carter County up as the recipient in a trust fund.
That would make my life easy if it didn't happen. Could I make a recommendation, since the gentlemen are here to talk about the discussion, and I think that item may take a minute
Sure.
or a lot of minutes?
Excuse me. Mr. Chair, before that.
I will acquiesce. Be back
Great
in,
idea.
be back in 13.
Oh, by the way, the pins in there don't have no elastic in them. You hear me? Those the pin machines, they don't have no elastic in the legs.
All right, we're back in session. I did not. I don't make motions. What are you talking about? Oh, at the request of the finance director, she has asked us to hold off on the discussion for the 23-24 revenue discussion until a little bit later so we can get into the bid discussion. So the floor is open for a motion to table that until later, since the agenda's already been approved.
I make a motion, we place it on the table till the final thing tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Do we have a second? Second by Collins.
Everybody.
I've seen the right totally go back to the sign, I can tell you right now.
It kicks out to the side, I see.
I was laughing at the wording of the motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Sweet, skipping on down, but bid discussion for jail heating and air unit project. Who we got?
Look at me.
Where was my Johnson?
You know, you're not supposed to say anything, you're supposed to stand up and walk out.
Aaron, was that deferral by Johnson about compensation?
Second, no, she told me to give it to you, so I gave it to you. Go ahead. Is this the Holston Engineering one?
Yes.
Bid of $2,894,369. Fourth bid contract to Norwell, they're qualified to perform the work. Residents have been no substitutions for equipment or methods during the bid process. What's the time frame?
It voted in 200 and, how many days was it, time frame?
If job will be completed as of right now, 2024 January. There is a lead week of 12 to 14 weeks with parts and equipment to arrive.
And I don't know if we covered this last time. Norwell was our only bidder. The other two people that had entertained bids backed out at the last minute, one due to, it exceeded what the cost of the project exceeded what he was allowed to do. And the other one was concerned there may be structural issues that come about and he wasn't comfortable bidding, so Norwell ended up being the only. The gentleman from Holston is here to discuss, because I know there were questions why there was such an increase in the cost of the project, and he is better suited to answer all your questions as far as that goes.
Perfect. What is the, and I'll put this as politely as I can for myself, what's the idiot's version of this? What all are you going to be putting in? How many pieces of hardware, that sort of thing?
So there's 25 units, couple of units that don't exist now. The rest of them are replacement units. Very similar in type, gas-fired packaged rooftop units for the most part. It's to replace outdated equipment that's 15 plus years old. It's getting away from R22, which is an outdated refrigerant. It's to replace, a lot of units are in disrepair. There's a few little upgrades of stuff that wasn't finished. We're also replacing the control system to an updated, in past years it hadn't been updated, so the control system we brought up to speed because you can't, the brains in it are outdated, et cetera, et cetera.
That's he holds up a piece of paper.
And one other piece of it is we have included in the HVAC replacement pieces, items like ionizers and better air filtration and better air changes on the outside air to prevent the transmission of, or try to slow transmission of such things as COVID and other infectious diseases in there.
And that was part of the requirement of the grant money that was going to be used, that be included.
Yep. How much of this is under grant?
271,000.
271,000. So we got 271,000 to play with. All right, anybody else have questions?
Sheriff.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Engineer, the specifications written on the specifications on the equipment itself, are they a prioritized spec or are they a generic spec?
They are a fairly specific specification, designed to meet what's there with only a couple of, exceptions. And I talked to Norwell and they bid exactly what we had on the drawings.
I know that it won't be written, but the difference between a prioritized spec and a generic. Prioritized, how many manufacturers can get your spec?
There's 3 at least on the market that I know of. Will be an engineered machine because existing machines, when they were purchased, they could do up to, the rooftops could do up to 2 inches of static pressure. Now, unless it's a custom sort of an engineered machine, none of the manufacturers make that machine anymore off the line. So, the brand we worked around was Aon, which is, they do a lot of hospital work and they do that type of, where they made their name was doing, high-end commercial stuff. Trane also was a bidder in the when the contractors went out and looked at them, they have a line called the Heritage line that's similar to Aon. It's an engineered unit with higher static pressure fans. And then Carrier could also bid it, but they didn't feel like they would necessarily be competitive. So it's not exclusively spec, but it is spec so that it would be, that makes answers your question.
When they were, when you was in your design phase, calculations such as there are standards set down by the federal government in engineering and design for such things for correctional facilities like we have. That's, specific to such things as our changes.
Yes,
we need that.
What we did is we met that as best we could. We have to remember we're doing a replacement job and we're limited by ductwork sizes in the building, and we're not doing a complete redesign of the building. We've modified things to help where we can, but not every aspect can be fixed without a complete redo. Which is a complete another issue, right? So we're stuck between having to deal with what's existing and replacing and getting you up to as best as we can get versus a complete. Okay, let's start over and do it up to date, today's standards. So we've got, best I can say is we've tried to meet everything that we could actually meet physically.
Have you referenced the original design, mechanical design on that building?
Yes.
The reason why I mention it is during Actress design and its bid process, the design itself noted specific spaces for such as that, as for either positive or negative pressures to control airborne.
To be honest, I don't think it did because I pulled the drawings and what we could find, and I don't even know how the guy had an engineering license. What he had on the drawings, I don't know how they made it work. They were lucky. I'm brutally honest here.
You'll be shocked. The reason I say that is there's entire sections of that jail that didn't even have a door to it at one
Well, I
point.
know. And there's ductwork that hadn't even been attached to sections, to areas right now that we're fixed. But again, there's enclosed ductwork and stuff I can't, you really don't want to tear down masonry walls to fix. I mean, it's functional. We're doing the very best that we can do. That's the reason it's high static pressure machines, and we're doing the COVID stuff, the plasma air and the mercury filters and exhaust fans to better control pressure on the machines, to better control pressure in the jail. It's a give and take.
not having an opportunity to read the specs or the general provisions, conditions and everything for it. What coverage warranty wise with your design comes with this project?
Typically, it's 1 year as far as manufacturer's warranty and contractor's warranty to go. You know, basically, if anything happens, repairs, anything, it's covered in 1 year. Being it's a retrofit project, as far as design basis,
I have, from Norwell versus inspection, they sent me back, I asked these questions. They've got, you're right, 1 year on parts and labor, 5 years on compressor, 15 years on heat exchanger.
yes,
15 years or more?
Heat exchanger.
these are gas units, so that's a 15 years on the exchangers.
What's the change in efficiency?
Low numbers, I mean, there's some up and down. We've got variable speed stuff on it and the compressors are more efficient.
I'm talking just on the gas side, like the amount of gas burned.
The gas will be about the same.
That's gas, we would say.
You know, because, again, the ones out there are probably in the mid 90% efficient already. As far as gas usage, it's going to be very similar. Electricity wise, they'll probably be a little better. And really, truly, and you know, you talk about efficiency of units, and yeah, you can gain a little bit with units, but most of it comes down to how efficient the actual building is.
Yeah. Which we can probably guess it isn't. Anybody else have any questions?
But the original, your initial design estimate versus 1 year design estimate versus 289,000 you thought it would be. Why the expense?
Or
How you were going to explain the increase, because it was, I remember being on the budget and it was just at $1 million.
I absolutely understand. So 3 or 4 things have happened that have caught most of the industry kind of by surprise. Well, number one, you had several contractors look at the jail and they fell into the trap I almost fell into was, hey, we've got rooftop units. Here's how many tons we've got. And they did a number per ton thinking it's an off the shelf down the line. The unit prices since COVID have doubled. I don't think the contractors were thinking about the full effect of the control system either, because the control system that controls HVAC also controls the smoke control fans, which is fed by the fire alarm, which means it has to be a slightly different level of control system, which is more expensive. So I don't think they were fully thinking when they were throwing out prices. And I know I probably didn't consider that either when I was thinking, okay, 1 to 1.4, you know, initially it was in the ballpark. So between, you know, the prices that double on the units, their engineered units, the difference in time when the budget was sort of started, those are 3 of the major reasons I can see that the budget was different. And moving into the engineered units was a big piece of it.
In the statement that was made in your presentation here, that there was non-standard custom units had to be chosen. Of course, it being custom units means that we're going to be limited on capabilities of repair.
No, there's local repairs that Norwell has agreed to train the maintenance folks to send 2 people to training, get trained on how to repair them. There's the local maintenance guy from Aon that works for Hobbs, lives in the area. They have local support. I think the spare parts and stuff have never been an issue because how they made their name because they deal with hospitals and stuff. They deal with folks that work 24/7. They understand 24/7.
Are they fairly new? Are they fairly new? I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they have been around for 30 years, 40 years. And that's AAON, and they do a lot of hospital stuff and those types of things where you have like 100% outside air units where you need control on humidity and pressure and all those kinds of things. And they'll build you basically a unit to do whatever you need it to do. And they expanded in the last 15 or 20 years more into doing this really high-end units for hospitals, becoming more standard engineered units where you've got higher pressure and more better humidity control, but maybe not as stringent as an operating room, procedure room.
And just kind of as a point of reference, the humidity control in that building is a huge deal because if we start getting mold in there, then we have complete different set of problems that we have to deal with.
Brad, I will say that Todd's supplied these units for finance, and they've been real good about coming over, taking care of anything we needed. And we do have an AON unit we put in the attic.
Well, the reason why I'm saying, of course, you know, I retired as a project manager at the VA during all of its major constructions through the hospital, homes, medical, school, and I've never heard of this thing. I mean, it is, they don't even get started, so I'm just saying it's kind of surprising.
They've been around, we've had a very good look at the ones we've used. I mean, I don't use them every day because it's not every day we need something like this. You know, we go get a train or a carrier off the shelf and use residential or a light commercial and go on. So it's not every day that I need something like that. Probably really good. I have the contract to do all the new PALs, and we use an AON on every PAL now because it's a restaurant, because that's the way they can work, because we go 100% makeup air and it goes in and goes out through the room tube because the building's so small.
Is this also in this contract with yours also, your firms will be responsible for the on-site inspection and installation?
Yes. I'll come over there if needed, probably once every 2 weeks or even more often as when we're in the heat of battle. Look and see what's going on and make sure they're installing, make sure that I know what's being installed, keep track of that, do pay apps. I work quite a bit with Norwell. They do good work. They'll call me if they've got questions. So, I mean, yes, the contract includes me making sure that it's installed the way that it should be installed from drawings. And I think that's a very wise idea because that's how things get screwed up.
And that's to a certain, and it has to depend on the layout and you're dealing with the existing facility. In your specs, you cover the testing as far as balancing and so, yes.
I have a very strange question that I have to ask. Okay. Is there any Siemens Building Technology stuff spec'd in the job?
Nope.
Thank you. Now that Brad has taken us through Engineering 101, does anybody else have any questions?
The only thing I have is about the money part of it.
Yeah. I think that's where we're all at. Everybody's like, you know what you're doing? Cool. All right, now how are we gonna pay for it?
We're gonna see if we can pull your number. 271 was on the grant.
Yeah, $271,000, so less than 10% of this is covered by a grant.
The grant, we also have 300,000 in reserve, and then we've got 156,000 in ARP.
300,000 reserve from pool.
The old board bill account, that money's still in there. Yeah, I should say he did that.
This was the
300,000
And
on
126, where?
Sitting in the 126 out of ARP. So we're about $2.1 million short.
so.
That's all.
Yeah, that's all. That's all, guys. That's all.
That counts, right?
And coupons.
Where's that?
126.
The grant was what?
126,
Grant was 278.
697, 697,000 just for food.
We're basically about to do $1.1 million worth.
So the only thing we have that'll even more to cover the obligation is you're going to have to borrow. What a time to do that.
Marty actually was randomly was in the area visiting the gentleman that we've used before, came up. Said, if you need anything, well, I said, well, I'll know in a week or two.
So 2.1.
Well, it kind of got you at the wall, the man standing there with a gun and a hammer cocked. It's gonna have to go through, but the only thing that I can see with all the numbers we have so far, it's gonna have to be borrowed, but there's no other way.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be a bond. Sheriff, Carolyn, what is coming in under the board bills as of right now? Anything? Because wasn't that the majority of the federal contract?
Federal contract, we don't have. They're working on some stuff with the state.
Right, right. I'm just saying, that was what primarily went into that fund. The board bill fund was,
There's nothing going into that fund right now.
okay. Okay. So there's not a source of revenue that we can use coming into the board bills like there historically was that we could use What's debt service look like?
We have about $3 million in the fund. I mean, our current debt payment is 1.4-ish, like 1.398 something.
It's slow, because 2 years.
I mean, that's the payment, sorry, that's the payment. If that's what you meant.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what's in debt service? Because I know we have to keep double what is in there,
So
so.
we're right there.
Yeah,
And
we're
so the
working in.
way I put it in the budget for this year is that the amount that's going into that covers what we're paying out. And that's pretty much it.
See, we had a hefty balance up till about, say, 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
I think that's where they staged an attack on me and
Yeah, that was,
sitting down there to where it was just right on the borderline. You couldn't use a penny on it.
because we used something, hold on. We used 1 or 2 pennies out of debt service
To balance the
to
budget.
balance the budget.
That was the year before,
That was the year before you came in.
but there's no extra money.
Yeah, I know there's no extra in there. I know there's not.
So if I say it leaves it down to just one source. We can do, y'all can look with taxes on it if you want to.
Well,
The Sullivan County. Get your own bodyguards. I think the next step is to, for the guide the financial director to negotiate, get the negotiations with our bondsman, see what the cost is going to be.
yep. So making that a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Deal.
Do it at 2.1. Sorry. This is anyway.
Well, wait,
What's it, horseshoes and hanger?
and also change orders.
Oh, well.
In your estimate, was there an amount in there in the four such things as change orders?
Not on that number. That's their bid number.
But do you have something in there?
I would tend to put at least 5 or 6%. I do not. There's nothing in that number. But I would say that you need to include, however you would do that as a county, I would include 5 or 6% in the number just to find, just for undiscovered things. Which I think that may be a little high, but that's what I typically see on these jobs.
Well, for us, we can just turn, if there's anything left over at the end, we can just turn it back in and put it towards bond payment in that particular case. So 5% puts it at $3,039,087.45. Don't write that number down. 3,039,087.45. So minus two
So
seven,
we have to calculate the,
minus 300.
that will have to come from our bondsman to see the duration of the payoff.
That's 2 point, almost 3.
It is 2.3. 126, 271, and 300.
So I'll ask.
It's 2.342.
2.3.
I think 2.35, just to make sure, or 2.34 at least.
Well, the savior is when it does, when the federal government offers the sheriff the federal contract for housing of inmates. And nobody can bank on that, but
Yes.
I think it'll happen, and I think the sheriff is confident that that's gonna happen, but nothing that we can plan on until it happens. Because, you know, you're just shooting in the dark.
Right.
Once that happens, then we can take a portion of that to pay the bond law.
Yeah, and the other portion is gonna be paying off the existing bond on the jail.
So I guess it'll be, we would have to wait till we see the final figure from our bond before you can send it to the full commission.
Yeah, we can make the motion here, approve it, have her work on it. I doubt we'll get the answer by Monday.
It takes.
So it's gonna be at least July. How long is your quote good for, guys?
I'm sorry, I don't have it in my hand, so it's probably 30 or 45 days. Yeah, I don't have no.
Because we won't be able to get the bond info back by the commission meeting on Monday.
Secondly, we have the commission chair here. And if there is, yeah, don't shake your head. In thinking ahead of it, we look like on our calendar that.
60 days. 60 days?
60 days.
What day it starts?
It starts July, well, no, hang on, whatever day the deal was, I'm sure that, which is 30.
May 30th?
May 30th.
May 30th, all right.
July 30th.
That gives us until July 30th. That gives us full 2 commission meetings to get it in and get it done. However, what's the general turnaround time on the bond getting issued?
Well, it depends. You have the options. It may be, he would have to make the recommendations and the financial director and then the research through it. May say, look, it's cheaper for you for this small amount. To me, that's a big amount, but to the industry, that's a small amount. It may be better for you all to borrow locally or from a bank rather than on a bond in itself.
I would say more than likely, based on conversations I've had with him, that's what he's going to
Go
recommend.
to the small lender. But that's what I say. There's quite a bit of cost difference between going to a commercial and going bond.
Yeah.
I think that's what he'll recommend, that we go commercial,
You straight sucker.
based on what, just previous discussions I've had with him.
So it may best that we schedule on, or you schedule on your agenda, the July meeting of the budget committee, that we have all the facts and figures, and if have to, the bond will be here also to explain it first, any explanation that to be given.
Also it doesn't have to go through financial management before it comes here?
Yes, but we have the meeting before then.
Yeah. I know you've got a meeting beforehand, so.
Financial management also with our members, who they are and all, that's very easy to bring them together. It's not like 44.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figure you'll probably get something back by the 1st for your guys' meeting in July. Are you meeting before or after the 4th?
Meeting after the 4th.
Okay.
So I think financial management's the day after budget.
8th.
Yeah. Oh, it's the day after budget day. Okay, so it's the day after budget. So we'll see it first. We'll get everything lined out on it to send it to you guys to do the approvals on it and then, or disapprovals on it. And then we'll go through the full commission, hopefully in July.
The way it is, and it's no bragging, but the way it's set up, and it's very odd, and it's never been before. The majority of your financial management is sitting here tonight. I mean, you know, if you hear it in the budget, you're gonna hear the same thing in the financial management. And, we can arrange the meeting so we can have it ready for the July full commission.
Cool beans. All right, Mr. Perry, call the roll, please.
Did we have a second?
Do what? Mr. Deal?
Rico? Julie Gwynn? Brad Johnson?
Yes.
Danny Deal?
Yes.
Linda Ward?
Yes.
Donnie Cable?
Yes.
Hugh Frazier?
Aye.
Billy Collins?
Yes.
All right, next up is the $64,000 question. How are we gonna pay the loan and the bond?
How we're gonna work.
Pay the loan or / bond. It would be a reoccurring cost. It would technically need to be something that would be part of the budget. Since it's gonna be coming in after the end of the fiscal year. First year, we could do it out of the unassigned fund balance. We need to go ahead and.
Well, I mean, right now, we don't know what that payment's gonna be, so.
Reason to consider it.
That's another thing for July.
That's a problem for future us, right?
As I say, we've got you to where you are now. They can run through.
Yep. Mr. Johnson, you were the first on that one? You were the motion on that one? Who was it?
Yeah.
Johnson was, okay. All right, gentlemen, the slow-moving wheels of county government are in motion. So thank you guys for coming and thank you guys for being patient. And I didn't realize that was, yeah, I didn't realize. Otherwise, I would have had you guys moved a little bit earlier so we could get you out of here. So thank you guys for coming and being patient. Thank you. All right. We are on to budget amendments. Is that correct, Ms. Carroll?
Yes, there are two budgets that weren't handed out to you earlier that we do need to look at real quick. So I don't know if you want to do those first or you want to do the budget amendments first.
We have to do that one. So we have to do that one. Gracias.
These two budgets are part of the schools that did not get done last time. This is the cafeteria and Head Start, sorry.
They were the same.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, both of them said central cafeteria.
There should be one of these.
Central Cafeteria and Head Start.
Yeah.
Both of the ones that I had were.
Well, I may have handed you. It has been a long day.
I don't have any. Okay, this one said so. Oh, I think I know what I did.
What did you do? Take it and pass it on?
Yep, took one and handed the other one off.
That's basically what you're saying. Does everybody have a copy of each of them?
I do.
You have looked at these before, but you did not technically approve them. And the other night, when you did the approval of the school budget, we just gave you one.
Now, there's actually, you got Head Start, and you got the next year. Right. You're handing that. Yeah, that's good.
They are.
Okay, okay.
Head Start, we don't.
Can't do anything with it other than say.
So let's.
Mr. Chair, we have no authority to pass. All we can do is concur and have it
Yeah.
entered into our record because it's federal.
It has to be approved as part of the total budget, so.
Because it's in the other schedule.
Motion to approve the head start fund.
Which one did so?
Head Start. Second. Call the roll when you're ready, Mr. Perry.
Brad Braycup.
Aye.
Julie Gwynn.
Yes.
Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Danny Hill.
Yes.
Layla Ward.
Yes.
Johnny Cable. Ian Fraser.
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
All right, central cafeteria time.
Nothing has changed on it since you've seen it. Oh, well, in paperwork.
Is there any particular reason everything is in parentheses?
Is what?
Everything is in parentheses as it's a decrease.
One.
Well, remember, they're changing things around and they're reducing by one school. So you would anticipate that would occur.
Okay,
Those kids are being moved to other locations, but one location is no longer gonna be a standalone school.
What's Central going to absorb?
What?
What is Central going to absorb?
the central elementary, I don't,
They'll get part of it. They've already, matter of fact, few of the families contact us. They've actually been told which ones are going to go from Kingberg and the register to Central.
So
That's already been taken
I should
place.
say they've already been dispersed out to all the other schools. That was handled before school was out. They were met, the parents were told which direction, and I think they were given some option on that. I can't remember now. That's been a minute since we talked about
It's
it.
my understanding if they didn't want to go to the school that they sent them to, then they could enroll in the open enrollment, but they would have to provide transportation. Last I heard there was around 70, but that doesn't mean they all came from Kingberg. I mean, kid from
Yeah,
transfer to
yeah,
Happy
kids,
Valley.
in the county, kids can go to any school that they want to, that doesn't matter.
It's just a pool.
Yeah, it's just a pool.
Right, it was just to help them get an idea for enrollment.
I want to say the expectation was 70 going to Central and the rest going to Hunter or something like that. Wasn't that what it was?
I think so, but I mean,
It can be anything.
Since we've talked about that, so I don't remember the exact numbers, but that was, all those logistics had been worked out.
I was just thinking by location, because Central is out there. I was just wondering what school they would be absorbing students, because they are farther.
Yeah, because whenever Range closed, they split between Central and Kingberg. When Kingberg closed, they're split between Hunter and Central. So. We were driving way too fast on those back roads back in the day.
There's gonna be a savings on SRO.
We took that into consideration already.
I'm sorry. SROs, we're gonna save, what, 2 SROs?
Just one. Just one, we already took that into consideration, and that adjustment was already made in the budget. And it was taken into consideration for the amount we get for the grant.
Well, the floor is open for a motion.
motion to approve.
By Collins,
Second.
by Deal. Any further discussion, any further questions? May call the roll when you're ready, Mr. Perry.
Dr. Acuff.
Aye.
Julie Gwynn. Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Danny Hill,
Yes.
Layla Ward,
Yes.
Donnie Cable, Aaron Fraser,
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
All right. Can I do budget amendments now?
Another quick comment, as far as the other school budget, the 141 budget, we still have not received the final PISA number. We do not anticipate that the amount that the county's funding will change, or if it did, it would just be a very, very minor number. So I feel like we can kind of move ahead with it. Brandon, Dr. Carpenter and I discussed it tonight over at the BOE meeting. If there is any change, it will probably be in their state funding, whether it increases or decreases, they'll adjust that accordingly. So their board is going to hold off and approve it at their next meeting, which will probably be somewhere around the 27th, 29th. They're going to do one more meeting before they take the break for July because of the bid opening that is Thursday.
Yeah, so,
But I feel like we can kind of move forward with what we were doing on that particular budget because our number should really not change as far as what we're reserving.
can we approve it if they have it though?
Well, I mean, we can move forward with it
Okay,
as far as I know.
because I don't think we
I
can.
don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Because they have approved it as it stands the way we have it. They have,
if they have done that, then we can move forward with that.
yeah, they have approved it from where we stand. But if
Okay.
there are any changes, we would have those changes before the potential of us having a final meeting to approve the budget, so I can put it in there at that time.
Okay.
But we don't anticipate that changing. The other thing, when I went to the conference last week, the Department of Ed said the way that they have structured TISA, they do not expect there to be any drastic changes in the formula. So what the county is currently funding, they anticipate that to stay pretty constant. The only thing that would change are the number of students. So if the number of students increases, then of course that contribution increases. If they decrease, it will decrease. But they don't anticipate anything material other than that for the next few years. So I thought that was good news.
But if that's a change in more or less the ratio, the student count, then we're out of that bracket there until you start back in the next fiscal year in August. I think it is when you start back school.
Yep.
In August, and then that'd be September timeframe for it. If there was any number change at all, come in here.
It would change for the next budget cycle. So where we're at now is pretty much where we're
That's
set.
gonna be concrete for
Yes,
both.
so that's for this school year, we're set. That number's not gonna change. So if the number changed, it would affect next year's budget.
Yeah, and so if they get a spike in students, then they're out of luck until the next fiscal year. If they get a drop in students, we're out of luck until the next fiscal year.
Yes, yeah.
When would that be determined, like in September?
August and September, whenever they do the full head count, have the enrollment.
They'll do that. They send it to the state. The state has a formula that they use. They will come back and give us the number.
2 to 3 weeks.
So
They kind of have it.
I didn't know if it was that quick or not.
Well, they're trying to do it first 2 or 3 weeks of school. They're trying to get it set because they want that money. You know, I mean.
Yeah, because we have to do the board allocations based on that number, that number is what goes to the state, and then they kind of do their weighted average type thing, and then they'll give us back the number to use for the budget.
So we'll have their budget numbers in September for the upcoming fiscal year.
I don't know when the state will publish their part. We'll have the numbers for the board allocations in September, because I'll have to do that, which is what they distribute out to the schools. So that was just an FYI.
Okay, so you're running with those numbers as is right now, and those,
Yep.
don't we need to approve it in here or not?
You did
We already did.
2 weeks ago?
Cool.
You got 1 or 2 weeks ago.
All right, cool. So as long as you've got something we can run with and we're
It's already in my schedule, their schedules, whatever.
perfecto.
Other than our revenue discussion, any department, anything that has not come through here as of
Not that I'm aware of, how's that? No, there should not be. We've checked.
Safe answer.
I'll be honest with you, we have wore everybody out today working on this to see if we've missed anything else. And as of right now, we do not see one thing we've missed as far as getting all of the budgets in there, in the main schedule. I do want to go back and look at it again, just to be sure, but that's just how I am. But we've all three looked at it, I don't know how many times today.
I'd say until you're cross-eyed.
Yeah. It's, I wore everybody out in the last 2 days. I'm gonna say that. Last several days, but the last 2 days have been tough. Sorry.
We good to move on? Yep.
So let's go back on that discussion.
We go back and discuss the revenue. That's the very last thing.
Yeah, you bounce it to the end. All right. All right. Budget amendments, county general fund number 101, budget amendment number 10. Item number 1, to recognize and appropriate funds for First Utility District water line extension. Or 14, starts at 14?
Yeah, we've already done
We've
one
done
for
them,
13.
this is just new ones.
Oh, okay.
See
I got like
happens when you
30
go to
things.
sleep.
I didn't sleep.
We were trying to get them done.
I was planting seeds and watering the seeds, that's all I gotta say. Item number 14, to recognize and appropriate funds for First Utility District water line extension. Item number 15, year-end adjustments for the assessor's office. Item number 16, year-end adjustments for the building and grounds. Item number 17, year-end adjustments for county clerk's office. Item number 18, year-end adjustments for Carter County Election Commission. Item number 19, year-end adjustments for county commission. Item number 20, year-end adjustments for the trustee's office. Item number 21, to recognize and appropriate funds for items sold on Gov Deals for General Sessions Court. Item number 22, year-end adjustments for the Register of Deeds office. Item number 23, to reverse 101, budget amendment number 10. Item number 11, adjustments were needed on the previously approved item for the sheriff's salary lines. Item number 24, year-end adjustments for sheriff and jail salary line items. Item number 25, year-end adjustments for county commission. Item number 26, year-end adjustments for county commission. Item number 27, year-end adjustments for EMA. Item number 28, year-end adjustments for inspection. Item number 29, year-end adjustments for inspection. Item number 30, year-end adjustments for the Veterans Office. Item number, I'm assuming 31, year-end adjustments for the animal shelter. For a total budget amendment of $672,741.91, with $1,000 coming from reserve funds. Floor is open for a motion. By Gwen, do we have a second?
Second.
By Neil. All right, I have a correction, I think. On page 2, item number 20. It's $5 in official, 200 in pensions, but 250 decrease from deputies.
50.
Should be 50.
Should be 50, okay? You accept that, you accept that amendment?
Yes.
You accept that amendment, Mr. Deal?
There's zero coming from reserve.
0 coming from reserve? 0 coming from reserve, okay. The other correction would be on item number 30 and 31. That's the only 2 that I caught just going through. Do you guys accept those 2 corrections? Thank you. Some of them seem like repeats, like inspection. Were both of those supposed to be on 28 and 29?
One of them's probably EMA and one of them's.
Yeah.
One of them's for EMA and the other one's for inspection,
I'm assuming 28's for EMA.
I think.
54,510 is the account, which it would be, Item number 28 and 29 both say for inspection, so.
Usually I did those one right after the other one. So that's why I just made that assumption.
25 and 26, are those both supposed to be for county commission?
County commission was only, it's just a little tiny amount.
Is that the mayor's budget because it's got the tax relief in it?
Yes, that's the mayor's budget.
So 26 is supposed to be mayor's budget?
Yeah. 25 is commission. Sorry, and this is, I was peppering him with stuff this afternoon, so.
That's why we have these meetings. As soon as we find out what 28 and 29 are supposed to be specifically, we can button those up and say, I think 28 is supposed to be for EMA because the account numbers are pretty close.
Yeah, I think
I
that's,
don't know what I put in or what.
it was.
$75.
It was a year-end adjustment payment I did, so.
I didn't remember putting in a budget amendment.
I
Thank you.
didn't, I did it.
It's just cleaning up line items to make sure there's enough funds in there to cover everything.
It's just a throw compensation piece out. If you look at every one of these, I mean, Commissioner Cable mentioned it a couple of meetings ago about, the workers' comp. It has been classified by name. Now here you're decreasing from one line item and you're increasing workers' comp, and this is just for 30 days. Now, what on earth?
Yeah, we're just literally clearing up line items and
Yeah, but I mean,
anything in certain categories I have to clear or we get written up, so.
Put in line items like, I'm gonna say, workers' comp. We don't have a bill that says that workers' comp has increased at all, but we're now taking money out and putting it in that line item. Does that mean that's going to be only expended for workers' comp? Or they used it for whatever they want? Because every one of them.
Technically, it is only used, but I'm literally just cleaning up stuff for year end. So any line item that's got money left in it is fair game when I do these cleanups. I hate to say it that way, but that's the truth.
Second, number 29 should be local health and welfare.
Local health and welfare?
Oh, I didn't bring that. Oh, okay.
But it was not decreased from one, it increased on the other. And it had a balance at the end of the year. It goes in the unfunded balance.
That is correct. And anything that's left over at the end of the year in any department rolls back into fund
But
balance.
then that would rule half of this unnecessary.
I don't disagree with that.
Well, if you don't disagree, why we do it?
Because
There's somebody in Nashville that says you should probably care about
Doesn't
this.
necessarily make sense, but. All right, so that's all the amendments,
So
or the changes.
Mr. Perry?
25 should be other public safety.
Oh, 25 is not county commission?
No.
25 is other public safety?
Yeah.
there is one in there for county commission because we had that discussion.
Yeah, number
It was a
19
very
is
tiny amount.
commission for $50.
Yes.
Okay.
26 is where is the mayor, yes. Copy
Oh,
down.
okay. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Sorry, I did.
No, I mean, you sent me like 12. That was
We knew this was crunch time. Yeah, well,
Drinking from a
I
fire.
literally was trying to push them all in tonight, so. For everybody out
All
there.
right, is that the only thing that we've had to change?
All right, so just to make sure we clarify, we've got item number 20 is supposed to be $50 rather than $5, which is going to change our final total by $45. No, it's not either. That's just a clerical because the 250 is covered somewhere else.
On the budget amendments, as long as the account numbers are right, writing on it is wrong, we can correct that when it goes through on the cheat sheet.
I'm okay with those changes.
All right,
Item 14,
item 14.
will those be a decrease?
Yes. One of those should be a D, unless it's.
No, we're increasing revenue.
Both revenue?
Increasing the revenue and increasing the expense, so we're appropriating the money.
Right.
Yeah, the contracts with other public agencies is the revenue side, and then where it's going is community development, correct?
Money in the revenue that's not recognized in the budget.
So we have to appropriate those. So now when the money's spent out of that line item, then it decreases that line item, but it was never in the budget to begin.
$250,000. Where's it been going?
No, it's
It's going in under, the revenue with the trustees, but not into the actual budget itself. So it's not being budgeted, it's just being more reimbursed as we get the checks in. We're sending the checks back out. So it just was never initially budgeted.
yeah, it just kind of goes in and out.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? May call the roll, Mr. Perry, as amended.
Had the motion.
Quinn, and the second was Deal.
Draco. Jordan Gwynn.
Yes.
Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Danny Deal.
Yes.
Bill Ward.
Yes.
Donnie Cable. Aaron Frazier.
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
All right, moving on, 141. Item number 7, year-end cleanup for leaves. Item number 8, year-end cleanup for 21st Century CCLC. Item number 9, year-end cleanup for Carter Cares. Item number 10, year-end cleanup for general purpose schools. Total of $99,967.76.
Yeah, and last year we did not do this on the school side, we only did it on the county. The auditors have requested that we do it on the schools. So they've done a great job of going in and basically looking at stuff and cleaning it up, because we had to roll everything back up from the school locations and then make sure it all worked out as it should. So when you're looking at these, like the LEAPS grant and the 21st Century, those are fine in the plan, because that's where that lies, but we're going in and making sure they're all cleaned up. It's Skyward as well.
It's exhausting. Zero that.
Some of them are, yes. I know on the 142s, those are, that's what this is so they can spend out their remainder of the money.
Floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Donna Collins. Second,
Second.
by Deal. Any further discussion? Call the roll when you're ready.
Draco.
Aye.
Bill Gwynn.
Yes.
Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Danny Deal.
Yes.
Yes.
Donnie Cable.
Yes.
Aaron Frazier.
Aye.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
All right, School Federal Projects Fund, number 142, budget amendment number 12, item number 8, answer 2.0, year-end adjustments. And item number 9, innovative school models, year-end adjustments, total of $105,000.
This this will exhaust all of ESSER two, so it will be done. And the same for innovative school. This will clear both of those out.
Floor's open.
We don't have the authority to approve this for, that's federal fund.
Yeah, it is. It is.
We have no authority. All they do is buy the record that we concur.
That's our concurrence, is the motion to approve.
Donnie made the motion.
Oh, Donnie made the motion, Julie the second.
Okay.
Second.
I did not hear it, Mr. Cable, I apologize. Nate, call the roll when you're ready.
Dr. Acuff? Jill Quinn?
Yes.
Danny Deal?
Yes.
Layla Ward?
Yes.
Donnie Cagle?
Yes.
Frazier?
Aye.
Kelly Collins?
Yes.
All right, Walmart donations for the month of May 2023, approximately $1,386.93. Go Walmart. Floor's open.
Motion to approve.
By Deal, second.
Okay.
By Cable. Call the roll when ready, Mr. Perry.
Dr. Acuff?
Aye.
Julie Quinn?
Yes.
Brad Johnson?
Yes.
Danny Deal?
Yes.
Layla Ward?
Yes.
Donnie Cagle?
Yes.
Aaron Frazier?
Aye.
Kelly Collins?
Yes.
All right, next up, donation listing for the animal shelter. I have a question. At the bottom, it says donations for the month of May, 2023, in amount of $3,116 are animal shelter donations as of 5/31/2023. Is that so far this year, or? Well, it says donations for the month of May in the amount of 31.
No, that was not updated.
Okay, so the total, the actual amount is $775.
Yes.
Okay. So floor is open for a motion to approve as amended.
Motion to
Brad, was that yours? Hey, Brad, you got a phone?
Motion to approve.
By Glenn.
I did that for Brad's advance.
By Collins.
Be my break thanks down the middle of the floor.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, sir.
Dr. Acuff?
Aye.
Julie Quinn?
Yes.
Brad Johnson?
Yes.
Danny Deal?
Yes.
Layla Ward?
Yes.
Donnie Cagle?
Yes.
Aaron Frazier?
Aye.
Kelly Collins?
Yes.
All right. Discussion of additional items needed to finalize 23-24 budget and the next meeting date.
Well, we'll see how the revenue and the
Oh, so we need to,
goes. That will determine that one.
Brad.
We have, let's bring up on the floor a motion that Commissioner Acuff made concerning the outside agency list that we had last meeting concerning the motion in essence was to establish 22-23 no increases for the charitable outside agency other than federal agencies. One in there that had been removed, it needs to be removed, that's in there on that motion, needs to be corrected. Is one that the committee was to remove the 9,000 some odd dollar from the Elizabeth Fire Department because we did not fulfill their contract by providing that same funded service in this present.
And did you vote yes or no on that? On the last one?
I moved yard and been to bed twice by then, who knows?
It passed.
Oh, it
It was unanimous.
It passed unanimous. Okay, cool. So I have a motion by Johnson to remove the Elizabethton Fire Department from the approved list.
But did we not leave out the drug prevention, the fire department, and
Yes.
all those were already left out?
They were already out.
Yes.
The only one that was added back in was the fire department?
No, it was not added. The fire department, the Chamber of Commerce, and the drug prevention, Carter County, they were left out, period, during this whole motion.
Boy, you can't stay up in so many of them documents.
I beg your pardon, I'll take good notes.
Well,
Excuse me.
we just,
But now, if y'all want to feel safe and do it again,
No,
All we-
want to make sure that it's
we
right.
can, because I
there's an easy way to check it, actually. All we have to do is take the finalized number that was, there's an easy way to check. Did you put a dollar amount in your motion, Dr. Acuff? Okay.
No. It was mentioned because Commissioner Cable also checked my math.
Was that not the
Now, that
1
made me
million?
feel good.
Was that not the 1,684,940? Is that correct?
Well, no.
If you want to re-add it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait a minute, sorry, that was where we did the, never mind, disregard that part.
We took the outside agencies' request from
22, 23.
23, and we added the ones pink on their page.
Yes,
And left out the Elizabethton Fire Department.
and the chamber, right, and
In the
then,
chamber, right.
and then the Carter County Drug Prevention.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we confident on that number?
Well, I am, but if y'all aren't, then we can
Well, I wasn't here, so
revamp it.
that's why I'm just making sure, because the numbers gotta be right.
All right, now let me clarify something before I say something else. That was to come out at a later time, not to be included in the budget process currently, correct?
Correct.
We did the one with the mandated
Yes,
agencies.
because what I've done has it mandated in there. I do know how much that is because that's what I wanted to clarify before we went any further. 'Cause
Well, we
that's
did that one separate, and then we did the others, the other outside agencies, which was his motion, and the motion was also to send a letter out that we were committed to funding them on the 23-24, the same as the 22-23 level.
making sure I hadn't missed anything else. Okay,
There was a thought that the 9,000 for Elizabethton was added into Dr. Acuff's motion to fund at the 22-23 level, because EFD was in the 22-23. I just want to double check the numbers to make sure that they're correct. That way we don't have something sideways there. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. That was just,
Understandable. This
Mr.
was-
Johnson had the same question.
That's understandable. This was a lot of back and forth. So as long as you know what we had and you feel confident, if you don't feel confident, let's. Are you okay with that?
Well, I made the right motion. You were the chair. If it's wrong, then we'll blame you. We'll chastise you in public. We'll call you up to the podium and let you sing for it or whatever. Because it was there's been so many documents in our writings on our documents, trying to keep up with it. Come down to the bottom number. I don't know if there's any to it, man.
Well,
But when we got the last document that was given when one of our elected officials presented hers to the panel. It is in your absence here. And with a threat, I'm going to say, but that left that out there to where the motion followed in behind it. And if I remember right, and I may be wrong, Doc, correct me, there was in the motion, it did not deny anyone. Is that right? See, that's why I was under that assumption that it was full, and that we knew that we had discussed and we had found evidence that that was wrongdoing.
one point, just one kind of thing that I'll remind everybody of is if somebody from the outside brings a document in here and tries to put it in front of you, you can call for a point of order. Tell them it should have gone to Carolyn first. shut things down like that. Just saying. Just saying. Because if she's not had the time to review it,
That's why we have the policy and procedures set, because that's what transpired during, if you remember, when we was going through the ordeal of law enforcement correction side of the house of the budget.
yes.
But we had so many different flying documents, and our finance director was not aware of them.
No, because it's impolite to ambush Carolyn on the day of. And I think I remember one other instance of that happening in the past. So,
I mean, if y'all said I will believe
Do you
that.
feel confident that we did what he's thinking?
if you guys are good on the numbers and you know what's supposed to be in there, that's all we need. Do you
That's what's in what I've done.
want to withdraw your motion, Mr. Johnson? All right.
No, I wasn't motion, sorry, but I just brought it out.
All right. Revenue discussion time.
So what we have done is we've gone through and basically done an analysis of every line of revenue in the budget.
I don't think I got a copy of that. You've not given them out?
No.
Okay.
That's why we can't find it.
Because I saw you looking at one of them.
Well, because it's gonna change, so no point in giving it out, then you get all, have 15 copies of it.
Okay.
Because I don't know where we can go with this discussion, so that's why I have it, and then I can, once we decide, then I can go take copies of that one. So with the current property tax, what I did is I went in and took the information from Ronnie Taylor's office and increased that number based on where we are currently, at a very conservative number. He and I sat down and talked about it. It does take into consideration the ratio adjustment. We actually did quite well, even considering that. We were slightly understated last year, but that's neither here nor there. So that number is up about 200 and some thousand, even with the ratio adjustment. As we went through and we looked at other numbers, I mean, there's some up a little bit, some down a little bit. Tried to keep everything as conservative as possible, because what we don't want to do is overstraight revenue. Some big ticket items to mention are, one of the biggest ones is investment income. I know the mayor brought it to my attention, Commissioner Johnson did, the chair did. We were already working on it. It was already on my radar. I talked to Chad Lewis about it. That one is a very significant increase of $1.5 million. It had been budgeted lowball for the last 2 or 3 years, but now this has gone from a very small amount to a very large amount. Because we will be getting in the TT Trail money and also the TDEC money, we will hold that money. Now, we'll put those in separate accounts. I have not seen the contract to see if we get to keep that money, but if we do and we get to keep that interest, this number is conservative.
Cool.
He's using the state investment pool to kind of get the number he wants for interest. We can go there if we needed to, but when I talked to him a few days ago, the number his amount interest had gone up again, and they are expecting that to stay pretty consistent for the next 8 to 12 months, which will pretty much cover us. So it's a large number, but based on everybody I've spoken with, they feel comfortable with this number. We could have gone a little higher, honestly, based on what it's been the last 2 months. I don't want to do that. So what we did is we kind of threw out the low numbers, we threw out the high ones and took the average, and that's how we came up with where we're at per month.
And one aside to this, if we're using the state investment pool as the yardstick for this, let's say that something happens and the economy goes in the dumpster catches on fire, then they push it off a boat. The economy just goes to crap. people run and invest in states whenever things like that happen. So we'll still be able to get a relatively good interest rate, even in the worst possible case scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, we could move the money to that investment pool, but at this point, there's no need to do that. And in some of the other accounts are paying even higher than the CD. So he's done an excellent job of watching the market and putting the money where it makes the most money instead of just leaving it in one spot. He's been very aggressive in trying to make money, and he's done a really good job of it. And we're seeing the results of it in this budget. Now, this is probably a one-shot deal. I don't expect by the time we get into the next budget cycle, I don't think it'll be anywhere close to this, but I'm taking advantage of the situation that we have right now. And based on everything that they're telling him and everything I'm hearing, we should be safe with this number. But it is an estimate. If you think it's not conservative enough, we can reduce it. But right now, that looks like, I mean, it's about what we anticipated we'd take in this year, correct? And we'll have more money next year. So that's why I say I feel like it's pretty conservative. Even if the rates go down, it's still a pretty conservative number.
Okay, so those funds generally are rolling back in on top of themselves, or are they rolling somewhere else?
Yeah.
So by doing this, we're basically stopping that growth in those accounts, correct?
What do you mean?
Well, the interest that comes back in goes back.
And then we earn interest on the interest.
Right, but it goes back into those interest-bearing accounts, whereas in this particular case, we're looking at it as revenue that would be going into the fund balance, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been booked, well, in the prior budgets, it doesn't appear like they anticipated they were gonna make much money. Of course, between all the grants and everything that we have right now, we are making a lot of money. Now, in the next 2 years, a lot of that money will be expended out. So that's the other reason I say this is kind of a one-shot deal. This number will reduce for next year. So I don't know if that answered your question.
It does.
And then the interest part of it too, see, it don't necessarily have to go to the fund balance. It can be placed out in 3, 4 multiple accounts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're basically going to be stopping this money from earning more money and using it to fund something in the county.
It looks like the interest has been in here. It's just not been in here at I don't want to say accurate, but I don't know how else to say it, basically an accurate amount. So what happens is we just keep pulling that money in, but we're not taking advantage of the fact that that's income. So this round of budget, I looked for every nickel and dime and penny I could find. That was a big piece of it. But if you're not comfortable with that, I can reduce it.
Don't look at me. It looks the way that the money market looks. You're more than safe for a year.
Yeah,
And we don't do anything to go up, but the thing of using the state, that's our anchor. We can draw from outside, but if worse comes to worse, we can always slip it over to the others.
Yeah, and that's less what I'm looking at. She's saying a lot of this comes in from grant funding. So as that grant funding is expended, it's going to stop earning money. So that revenue stream is going to go away in a year to 36 months.
That's what I'm saying. This year's pretty much
So
when you do it.
if you're going to use it, you have to understand that $1.5 million is not going to be there a couple of years from now. So you're going to have to make up that deficit then.
Somewhere
You can't
else.
use it for reoccurring anything.
Do what?
You can't use it for any reoccurring needs unless you anticipate other revenue than that.
Correct.
Yes,
That's
because
all the change.
the principal, well, not principal, but the balance is not restricted. So, I mean, well, it depends on the grant, but it's
Correct.
restricted for a purpose.
Correct.
But once it is expended, of course, it's gone and the interest is gone too.
So if we try to use that to balance the budget in a couple of years, you're going to be X number of pennies short. You're going to be X number of pennies short. So if you don't use it and you keep that interest and you earmark it for specific projects or different things like that, or just to reinvest, that's $1.5 million that we can reinvest and use down the road. Those are the two things that you're doing. It's like you're using it now, and losing it later, or you're saving it now and having a function for it later. So, but in the short term, that's what, about 10 cents on the tax rate. In the short term,
I put it in there.
those are the two options.
All right, so let me continue with a couple of other things, just to food for thought as we go through this. So that was one of the big ticket items. One of the other big ticket items was the grant that we will be getting, that will go for the Sheriff's Department for SROs. That was $1,090,000. That is also incorporated in here. The other thing, we did just slightly increase the amount of the prisoner boarding for the state, because we have double, isn't it double we've got for state inmates right now than what we've had in the past?
Yes, we have doubled, we're currently at 50, and I've authorized the jail administrator to up that to at least 75 until we can get the federal contract, and then we'll adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I have not increased it that much. I've only increased it 25-ish%. Because when I was doing this, we had not had that conversation yet, so I did not go back in and adjust that. But to me, that's something to keep in mind that will fund, for example, what we were just talking about. We don't want to hedge all our bets on this 1 year. So when we look at the revenue, we think of things that are coming up that would offset anything that's going to decrease, thus the interest that could potentially decrease. So what we've put in here for that amount is a conservative number. Anything that was in there for federal inmates is all gone. I took every bit of it out. We do not have a contract for that. And we talked about that and agreed right now it's best to get it out. However, as he's going through this process, that is an additional revenue stream that we probably will have back by the time we do this next year.
We have a $3 million loan that we're going to have to take out for air
Which
conditioning system.
hopefully it will cover that as well.
I would be tickled pink if what it covered was the jail bond payment and the air conditioner payment. I'd be happy. Anything other than that?
Well, it's still looming out there.
Well, the $1 million grant,
Waste is gonna burn, roast your rear end, so.
the $1 million grant kind of offsets the bond payment there. So that's a saving grace, but that's still part of his budget. And so it's a wash, but.
Another thing that was taken out is the money that we had been previously getting from the schools for the SROs. Those are now being paid for through that grant. So that money came out. So that was another close to $400,000 that came out. But we did get the $1 million grant in its place. Other than that, I mean, there were several that were kind of in and out. The rental for workforce development, those were taken out because that will no longer be our property. So of course, all that income is gone.
Is that July 1st?
Yes. That's what I've been told.
I can't wait to see the highway patrol down there cleaning people out of the fishing pond. Becomes their problem.
So with all the ins and outs and adjustments, that was basically a little over $2 million increase from what was budgeted last year to what is budgeted this year. Now, there have been revisions. Some of those are not recurring, so we don't take those into consideration, but that's the difference. And I tried to be conservative.
2 million, so that's what we've got to consider.
Is that in addition to the 1.5 or is that including the 1.5?
That's included.
The investment revenue. Is that 2 million includes?
Yeah, it's in there, so. Yeah, but remember, we took a bunch of stuff out and some things took some hits. So, I mean, we lost $1 million just on the federal contract.
So 2 million, our penny is worth
109?
Well, it ain't been said yet. That's what I'm saying. You have to determine what that is first.
I thought that's the number we were running with was 109.
Yeah, pretty close. Before you you have to take out a percentage of what you would assume non-collection. So it came out to 108 when I did that.
Well, wait, okay.
So that means you're somewhere around about 18 cents.
18 and a half, yeah.
How much?
18.
Well, we're a little less than that. We're a little less than that.
What do you say?
So, because we had some increases, but we also had some savings on the budget. So what we did is we put all the budget document or all the budgets into the main document, and we came out at close to $1 million short. Once I put this revenue in and we made all the other changes. So that puts us at about 11 cents. To cover that.
11 cents, if you're 2 million short, how do you get it down to 11 cents, just out of one delay? You just told us
Well, there were
3.
changes so some of the expense budgets went up, some of them went down, and so there were adjustments in that as well.
So what she's saying is we realized the 1.5 million investment income plus an additional $500,000 in revenue that has been adjusted and modified. That gives us $2 million. We are still $1 million short.
Yes.
So we're still, say, 9 cents short,
11 cents.
11 cents short, sorry, 11 cents short.
Because the other thing that I took into consideration is as your tax rate goes up, your potential for non-payment goes up. So I had to take that into consideration in order to be conservative. I mean, we're sitting at probably about 99% now, and I put it in at 96.
Perfect.
Because I want to stay conservative. I don't want to overestimate. I would rather underestimate.
Yeah, because as we all know, well, I don't know if everybody knows, but they can take up to 3 years to decide to pay their taxes before we can do anything. So,
Yeah, and I left those types of items current. So there's no way to know from year to year what those are gonna be, so I left them historically current, what they've been, instead of
Now,
increasing.
We can safely estimate somewhere between 11 and 14 cents, right?
Yes.
11 and 14 cents. That's if we want to realize the 1.5 million in investment income. Because that is not reoccurring. That's going to be this year only.
That is correct.
Dangerous.
But we're hoping that the federal inmates come in.
That just takes care of the jail payment.
That will probably take care of the payment on the HVAC system.
Now, did that 11 cents include the $2 million loan payment?
No.
Or $3 million loan payment?
No, because I mean, I didn't have all that.
So now,
That's not still been determined, but it does not take that into consideration, which would be my
But that
next
too
comment.
can go into a reserve for, it does come out during the year. We can, that's our budget. That you can draw from it. That can be a source, but it's non-reoccurring. You can't bring it all, but
talking the loan payment?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Technically, you're saying we can do it out of the unassigned fund balance annually, right?
it just depends on how much all of this totals up if we're hitting the unassigned fund balance, because you know what, that line is fine.
You gotta be careful.
And just consider that the average and of our commissioners really don't understand what the unassigned fund balance is to start with. Because, and I don't blame them, they'd be eager to say, well, we'll pay out of unassigned fund. Don't know where it was created from, the controls and that is. So that's why we have to be careful.
Another thing to take into consideration is as we have had people go in and cut their budgets, we did that last year, we did that this year. I can tell you right now, because of the adjustments that I've had to make through this cleanup, there is not going to be anywhere close to the amount rolling back into unassigned fund balance that has in previous years. This year budget that we're looking at will be even less because they went back and they've cut to the bone. There's not going to be a whole lot left over to roll over. Plus, half of that money will go to
Capital projects.
the capital projects reserve. And so that means even less goes in and funds your fund balance. You have to be careful to spend out of that fund balance constantly because you're you're not replenishing at the rate you're spending at this point.
Yeah, historically, prior to this, it was coming in somewhere between 1.5 and $1.7 million was rolling back in annually before you got here. So we're cutting into that, trying to get it down to where it's zero. And so that means capital projects are gonna have to, if something break fix type stuff is gonna all be unassigned fund balance. We're not gonna have the capital projects fund to lean against.
One good thing to mention, the window project came in close to about $300,000 less than was anticipated. That 300,000-ish, I don't know, remember the exact number, will roll back into that reserve. That reserve had been pretty much diminished to, I don't even know, there may be 47,000.
There was 42,000 left in it.
And so that money will roll back into that, but that also affects capital projects. So, because there will not be a lot left over at the end of the year. So not a lot of money will be going into that. Now, shouldn't be a lot of capital projects remaining, but just something to keep in mind.
There's another bright side to this. With the new TISA formula, we don't have to worry about the schools coming back and asking for additional funding or anything like that, because that TISA funding sets what it is. It is what it is. There's no arguments or debates over what they get paid every year. That's the number, and we're really clear. So that's at least one thing that wouldn't have to come out of the unassigned fund balance.
So that's interest where we can use some of it to lower this tax burden. And that's what it's all about, start with. I mean, myself, because it comes out of our tax money, if they've earned interest for ourselves and commissioners previous to us and all were conservative, and in with the help of the trustee's office. I think that should be due to the taxpayer.
Because generally a lot of that income is off of savings from the past, not bonds, but CDs and stuff that they've had. Because I think there's like one $10 million CD or something like that they've got chilling down there, just growing money. So
They're looking at 2 more increases. The next little bit, 2 more
On the
rate increases. We'll have 2 more because this last time they passed and did not have a rate increase, and it surprised everybody. So we're looking at 2 more increases, so there'll be some opportunity there in the future to.
Really, at the get-go, I had estimated it would be between 18 and 23 cents to start with when we first got started, because of, keep in mind what the expense was going to be for increasing of recurring cost of employment and items like that. And not knowing that we still, some of it don't know that we're going to be able to recoup or claim interest off of grants, certain ones, but we can use that later when we find it out.
well, and then you had the bond.
If we went below 16, we should just go ahead and build us a fire out front, sing Kumbaya and pass the ball around. A great task.
The 18 to 23 was before the jail bond payment, before the $3 million, and before the $750,000 or $558,000 increase from the school system. Yeah, we were going into it with looking at a quarter at least. So.
Yeah, well, now, with the school system, we kind of looked at that, and with the TVA money that did roll back into the maintenance of efforts, so we came out much better on that. We didn't end up having the increase that we anticipated, so that worked well for this budget. Yeah, they offset each other. Another thing to keep in mind, not trying to be the bearer of bad news, because I'm trying to give you good news, is, we don't know what next year's going to bring. And so that's something to take into consideration. You don't want to cut it too close, because you do have the potential of having a loan, more than likely, for the HVAC system. And then we don't know what the economy is going to do, if things are going to get more expensive. There is basically almost no wiggle room in these budgets. So as costs increase, they're not going to be cutting next year. There's not going to be anything for them to cut. So their budgets will go up next year.
So, have you looked at the expected raise on inflation in the next year?
I have not.
I haven't either.
Looked at what?
Expected inflation increase.
I haven't looked at that. I didn't want that.
Like the on paper amount is like 9.7%, but the reality percent is like 33. So,
But, two things we have to give consideration of now. Since we went through this evening, is there anything that would prevent us from advertising? And
Once you all
then
decide on the
to,
tax rate, then I can.
For our chair to schedule a special call workshop for the full commission, is that, we're on board with that?
As long as I know what you want the tax rate to be.
Well, we take a 5-minute break first, or 10 minutes.
oh, you get 10 this time, not an odd number. It's 9:30.
Well,
hang on to.
So where are we at?
Last 2 days.
And that has been proposed. And we have roughly 500,000 of other general revenue that's been proposed. At least in the ballpark of being on time, we have to decide on the tax rate. We have to decide on the revenue, quote unquote, AKA tax increase, and have that ready for Monday night to go through full commission. That way it can be published if in the miracle of miracles that Carolyn can get everything completed and pulled through. That is if it passes on Monday.
It doesn't go to commission Monday night. Has to be published first.
Has to be published first. See, it'll be that.
Okay, so we can once we approve it here, it can be published. Sweet. So,
Because see, it's up to the county chair to establish the date prior to the end of the month for our workshop and then for
Voting meeting.
Final vote.
Yeah, there's one other thing that I want to mention, the 177 fund. According to what it looks like occurred last year and the year before, that was not taken into consideration in these calculations. I have not been able to confirm or deny that. That is the one outlier that I cannot get the confirmation on. So I'm going to call the comptroller's office tomorrow and just verify that what I've done is correct.
okay, so the 177 fund, that does not count into our establishment of funding for the school system, correct?
That's correct.
So this is just their capital projects fund that we give them
It's an extra
half cent on the
half cent.
the sales tax rate.
Yes, and so from what I can tell, that doesn't affect what I have done, but I would like to get, for my own peace of mind, I would like to get a confirmation on that.
Okay.
That is a committed fund.
There's nothing we can do about that fund.
That's the thing we-
It's just revenue that goes directly to the school system for
So
capital
I
projects.
don't think it affects what I've done, because now sales tax, I did take it up just a tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit, because I felt like we were pretty aggressive with that last year. But we will surpass, which I was surprised, this year what we budgeted for last year. I thought it would be really close, but we will surpass it. So I took it up, I basically rounded it up is all I did.
Okay.
So it was a tiny bit, but that's also one of those things to keep in mind. That's a wild card. We have no idea what that thing's gonna do based on the economy. So it could be a good number, it could be a bad number. Everything I've read and spoken to with like the state and so forth in the Department of Finance in Nashville have said to increase it slightly. So what I told them is I plan to just basically round the number up, which is what I did, and they felt like that was very conservative. But I did want to throw that out there. But it is, it's a pretty significant number.
And also bear in mind that a significant, about 40% of what goes to the school system comes from sales tax revenue. I think it was around 4.4 million?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's around 4.4.
And I'm sorry, I've looked at so many numbers today, I literally feel like my head's going to explode.
If you go back to the TISA formula, it has the sales tax revenue listed on there. So if the economy tanks, sales tax goes down, we're on the hook for those funds. Just saying.
Before we start doing anything, I would like to, and I may be out of line saying this, I would like to have a full recommendation from our finance director, what she thinks and how we should do. So, sorry if I've overjumped, but
No, you have not overstepped. You have not overstepped.
Based on the discussion of the interest, and I will be honest with you, have a little bit of concern about, how we're going to fund the outside agencies based on what we are planning on doing. I do think we don't need to minimize the tax increase to just eat up our fund balance. So I do think that's something that we should keep in mind. Also, if you recall, when we first started doing this, we were throwing out very large numbers as far as tax increase. We were talking 30-35%. I mean, we've basically got it down at around 14-15%. If we wanted to really nickel and dime it, we could go lower than that. But I think that would be kind of a safe place to be, especially not knowing what the loan's going to be and what those payments are, because those are not in this budget, and we will be having to start making those payments before the next fiscal year's budget is in process. So I do think we need to keep that in mind.
What she's saying is don't kick the can down the road.
Yes.
So in other words, would you recommend 15 cents?
I think that will give us a little extra, and would hopefully, I'm just concerned about cutting our fund balance short, I'll be honest with you. That is a concern.
Yeah, because at least you're gonna be miserable.
Yes.
Are you recommending keeping the outside agencies in?
No. She's saying that money is gonna have to come out of the unassigned fund balance.
Well, I mean, if you put it at 15%, you could, well, we can see what the final number is, and then we can come back and determine. That's something that could be determined when we get ready to go through the next level, which would be to go through the workshop for the commission. If we do that, if we can get this finished and we can get it into the papers the beginning of next week, then we could have a workshop on the 22nd, and we could have the commission meeting on the 30th. The 29th is not an option because it does not give us the 10-day notice. The other recommendation on that is that we put it in both the Press and the Star. The Press will go in faster. It's a lot more expensive, I'll be honest with you, but if we only go with the Star, we cannot make the 30th deadline because there are not enough days that paper are published. So that's up to basically this group to decide, but I think we need to do
It should cost $80, and we're dealing with 20 million here.
I started saying how much is
It's
it?
probably gonna be close. I think it'll probably be closer to like $1,000, $1,100 to get it published at the Prince.
It probably will, but
Gee whiz.
I mean, that way we'd be finished with it, basically. And
Does the
I talked to
commission,
Ginger, and she said she would be game. Now, the 30th is on a Friday, so I'm sure everyone will be throwing darts at me. But I cannot help the fact that that's the last day of the month and it is on a Friday.
Excuse me, they asked to run for office and be elected, elect me, so we keep running everybody in here.
So you're saying
Who said that?
commission on Friday, the 30th,
Let me think what his name is.
that's, well,
workshop on
The 22nd. Now, I did kind of jump the gun a little bit and went ahead because I had to put the advertisement in for the 22nd. I put it in for budget and for a commission workshop, so we would be safe. Otherwise, we were going to miss deadline. So I did have Gwen put that in today.
Did the 6 and the 6:30, that's what that was about.
Yes.
Sorry, that was.
Yeah, because that way we were covered either way, because I kind of hedged the bets. If we couldn't get finished tonight, budget could have met again on the 22nd. We would not have made the deadline for the end of June, but we could have gotten it finished. And then the commission workshop afterwards. So if there are other things that we want to discuss, as long as they're not material changes, even after we've published it, we still may have some things we need to tweak. So we'll have the opportunity to do that as a budget committee.
on the 22nd.
Workshop.
Carolyn, what is the estimated total budget will be this year?
For which?
October.
23, 24.
The whole thing.
For the whole thing?
Yeah.
Let me add it up because I've got it broken down by fund. I don't think you did. We didn't put a total on it, did we? I don't think it did. Because what I did was broke it down by fund. Well, see, this doesn't have the tax increase in it, so. Because right now, I couldn't put that number in there until it's decided on. So what I've got right now, which I have copies of it up here, but it does not have any, I mean, it shows the shortage.
Do we need to come up, we need to make this committee the increase?
Yes, because these documents here are where it stands right now with the basically $1 million shortage, and no tax increase. So we need to put the
So
tax increase
let's
in.
get that done.
Floor is open for a motion.
Kelly.
Yeah, but you look like you really wanted to.
Mr. Chair, asked that question.
I made the motion to set it at 15 cents.
Okay? Got a motion by Mr. Johnson to set it
I
at
wanted to make a comment real quick.
Go ahead.
The reason I asked that question is, next year, looking into, and I looked into the inflation rate for next year, it's gonna be something like 3.6. If that stays the same, and our budget's like 25 million, I don't know what it is.
40 million for the county.
Yeah, I sure say it's around 40.
Yeah, the county's 40 and the school system's 40.
It would behoove us to add 3% of our budget, because if it's gonna inflate that much, and we don't have that inflated number in our budget, then we're still gonna be right where we're at
You're gonna be in the
for
hurt.
next year.
Yeah, the only thing is we are hoping, notice I said the word hoping, because nothing is guaranteed, that we will have some additional revenue streams to help offset that, but of course there is no guarantee.
That's 20 cents by itself at 3%. It's $2.4 million.
Yeah, but we wouldn't go up that much. Well, I don't know.
You probably wouldn't, but that's what it projects. It could, the last number I saw was 2.4. So if you go 2%, you'll bring it back down, and you still won't be no more than 16 or 17 cents added to the 203, which would make you 220.
And that would be 1.6 million.
And that's one reason I don't recommend we go with the bare bones number on it, because as we know, with anything, things go up, things change a little bit. These budgets are pretty tight. There's not a lot of cushion in them. So that's why I'm not recommending we go with the very bottom number, that we kind of hedge our bet just a little bit and have some extra out there. From the standpoint of the way the resolution is worded, we can be over as much as we want to, but we cannot submit a budget to the state that is not at least at zero. So we can be over in revenue, but we cannot be short.
You said the bare bones was 11 cents.
11 and a half, yeah. That's keeping the interest income at that high rate. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna offset that interest, get it fairly close, so that we're not showing a large, I don't guess you call it a surplus, I don't know what you call it in county government, sorry. But I'm gonna make it balanced, basically. What I will decrease is that interest income, is what I'll decrease. That or the sales
That's
tax,
bare
those
bones.
would be the two items, those would be.
It's giving them.
It's already given the cushion.
So it's
Just a
already
little bit.
given a little bit of a cushion in there.
Yeah, it's on.
You said you went conservative on everything.
If you do it, if you go 15, then you still have some cushion.
Yes,
Right, you're
anything
saying
will allow for some cushion.
So if you go to 15, you'll still have that.
Still got some. She's gone conservative on everything else, which should hopefully that's a good thing because it may come back to help us later.
That's what I'm hoping. I didn't,
It has so far.
yeah, I've been working on this revenue probably about 3 weeks, and I've literally gone through it, looked through it. You've looked through it, we've all tried to vet it as close as we can. And even, we have the trustees report now for May. We honestly don't have time to process it because we've been working on this so hard. But it looks like what we did is fairly conservative as far as revenue is concerned.
Well, when you're looking at it from a conservative standpoint and we're not wanting to cut our own throat 3 years from now. It's not just about this year or next year. It's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. Because if we start digging into the fund balance too hard, or the unassigned fund balance too hard, we get up against a wall where we have no wiggle room at all.
Exactly. And I've just noticed in the year and a half that I've been here, because we've had the extra money, it's real easy to just say, take it out of fund balance, take it out of fund balance. We've done that a lot. And so we need to be conservative because we're not going to replenish it at the rate we have anywhere close to that going forward.
And also bear in mind, it's also been growing every year because many of the budgets have been overstated. We've also had revenue that we've not realized like we are this year. So those, the years of the 1 million, 1.5 going into the unassigned fund balance, and it's not going to be there in the future. So while that unassigned fund balance has got us out of some tight issues and allowed us to improve a lot of things in the county, we're kind of out of it right now.
So I'll second Commissioner Johnson's motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Motion by Johnson, second by Acuff for 15-cent tax increase. Doesn't it need to have the dollar amount that we're recognizing the penny at in that one?
Said it 108.
No way, is that what you said?
108.
At 108. 108,000, sorry. Any further discussion? Mr. Perry, call the roll.
Dr. Echo.
Aye.
Julie Quinn.
Yes.
Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Danny Deal.
Yes.
Layla Ward.
Yes.
Ronnie Cable.
Yes.
Aaron Frazier.
No.
Kelly Collins.
No.
Passes. So we've got it for Monday.
So are we good to move forward with the other dates?
The 22nd and the 30th, correct?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
All the individual departments have been approved. We've approved the tax rate and the tax increase to make the budget balance. What else do we need to do?
That's it. I have copies of everything printed off for everyone to review. It does not have a tax increase on it because I wasn't exactly sure where you were going. But I would ask that you do review it, and if you see anything that does not look correct, if you can please let us know so we can check through it just to make sure, because that was the other reason to have a budget meeting before the workshop, is if we need to tweak anything, we still have the opportunity to do that before we get to the 30th. But of course, we have to have an amount of time to get that done and get all of it printed and so forth. Final deal. I just didn't want to give it out and you all see what the bottom line was and everybody threw a fit. I just held it until we got a little further through the discussion, so.
Motion and second.
And I want to compliment these two. They have worked themselves to death.
I think
to try to get all this done.
Amazing job.
Yep.
I really do. You guys have worked hard.
You guys,
Understaffing. As you stuck with.
your floor all the way down. Yeah, it's been a train wreck year and it's been all kinds of changes at the last minute that we had no control over.
So if you see something that doesn't look right, please let me know and let me check it. This spreadsheet is huge. This is not one that we created. This is one that has been used for the past several years. And so just, that's why it's good to have another set of eyes look at it. So if you see something else that doesn't look right, if you can, please let me know.
The school system's allowed to have a deficiency? This is excess and then deficiency is in parentheses.
Change in fund balance is $100. On the second page.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. I was just looking, I just saw the first page, sorry.
I think I had the same thought.
Okay, not just me, I'm like, wait a minute.
The other thing that I plan on doing, which is a new step that's not been done previously, but I just want to just because of some things that have happened the past, actually 2 years. I will take this document and then the document that we printed off that we have approved and go with each department head and make sure that they are aware this is what it is, this is what it's approved, and go ahead and have them sign off on it so they see that it's the same in the final budget. Because the last 2 years, I mean, the year I got here, everybody said that it wasn't what they agreed to from the prior finance director. And then last year, I think I had 1 or 2, and I'm like, well, that's what I had, and that's what we had approved. So this way, there's no question. But it is what it is.
Thank you for your hard work, ladies and gentlemen, and your late nights.
Oh, yeah. They like the music.
Okay, so the next 2 meetings on 22nd.
Not, well, there's one Monday. The commission meeting is on Monday. And yes, the Thursday, the 22nd at 6 and at 6:30, correct?
Yeah, so the budget meeting will be at 6 first, and then the commission workshop will be after that.
So the 22nd is commission workshop.
Yes, and that workshop is not a voting meeting, it's a discussion meeting.
Yep. The only thing that can be discussed is budget and, well, it's whatever she puts on, whatever got put on the agenda, but primarily I think it should be limited to budget revenue. So, but I guess what those things go hand in hand.
Oh, is it the 20, is it still the 29th?
Special call would be on the 29th, no, the 30th.
30th at 6.
Oh, we had it down for the 29th. Why did we change it?
Because we can't get it published on the 29th. We can't get it published on the 19th.
Okay, yeah, because that, okay, that's right.
She'll be here.
That's what threw us off.
Now, your job is going to be harder because you're going to have in the workshop. I'm sure that you're going to be at the podium.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that means that you've got the other 2/3 of this commission that you have to convey and represent this budget committee to them as to what these numbers represent. And myself, I would think that I would say, hey, you can change anything you want, which they have the authority by majority. That anytime that you change past this number, you just change the tax rate.
Yep.
They gotta understand it right off the bat.
And so when we go through the final part, we'll approve the final, we'll approve this final, then we'll approve the tax rate. Is that correct?
You first, you got 2. You gotta approve the outside agency, charity, nonprofit organization. That's one part of it. And then you approve the
county.
The county, the 101,
The 141.
9 yards of bid. And then once those 2 are tabulated, here's your tax rate. Now, if you change the number, bottom number of either one of them, the tax rate is cut. 1 year we came in here and right off the bat, the commissioner went up, made the motion, that we set the tax rate at 150. Didn't have any idea of what these numbers were, and that meant that they had to send it back to the department heads and cut 9% out of everybody's budget. Now, you're talking about, instead of going through the steps on the way.
It went snafu talking about football real quick.
The majority voted. It was on one above the majority, but you talking about who was a part of it, department heads and everything, and at the end, it wasn't worth a dime, they came right back, put it back where it was. So,
Question. We haven't talked about the public hearing. That happens on the third meeting at 5, right?
Yes.
So y'all are gonna still be spending a lot of time here the next 2 weeks, and then it'll be over.
We're kind of used to it. We're kind of used to it now.
Yeah, so,
I'll
yeah.
be a few
thank
minutes
you.
late that day, but I'll be.
Thank you for clarifying that. I forgot, because there does have to be a public hearing, and that is historically, from what I understand, before the commission meeting. So it will be on a Friday night. But I can't, I mean, date-wise, we don't have choice.
It's not, it is what it is.
And I did confirm with Josh that we can do this today, and he said yes.
We did have one on the 26th. You talked about having a budget meeting, so that's no longer needed because of the time that it takes.
That is, said we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we basically ran out of time, so the 30th is the last possible date. And then we have, I think it's 2 weeks to get it submitted to the state once we get to that point.
So on the 22nd, we meet at 6. The budget committee meets at 6. Then the workshop starts at 6:30. Is that correct? On the 22nd.
Yes.
And then on the 30th, public hearing starts at 5. Full commission starts at, the full special called commission meeting starts at 6. And again, since it's a special called commission meeting, the only things that can be discussed are what is covered for that agenda.
Yes, and it needs to be any outliers of budget amendments and the budget and the tax rate. That's it.
Yep. And during the workshop, considering I don't think many of us have been through a workshop before, during the workshop, you can't, there's no deliberation. It's question, answer, that sort of thing. So you can't get into a direct discussion between each other regarding what it is and trying to deliberate to a decision. You can ask questions and you can make comments, but there's no additional interaction during the workshop.
and the reason for the workshop was because for many years, they would go straight into commission hearing right out of the budget. And we talk about a fiasco. I mean, I've seen it on 6 hours and you come right back to the same thing as when you started.
Yep.
But remember, our fellow commissioners, we have a great knowledge of this committee, is what we went through, the numbers, what they represent. They have no idea.
And
So that's what we got to convey to them.
And I'm far from perfect and able to remember everything that we have gone through. If I may look to you guys to help me remember a particular item or something that has a reason why something was decided. So if I get the deer in the headlights look, which I doubt I will, but if I do, and you know the answer, feel free.
I will get, once I get all this stuff put in, then I will get you a full copy first, just so you've got more time to look at it since you're gonna be on the seat.
I'm just gonna put a pair of, I'm just gonna.
It took me a minute, I was like.
Does anybody have anything further that they would like to add? So moved by Mr. Neal, second. Kelly, second. Dr. Acuff.
It was signed, Kelly.
Too fast, I've talked.
I just figured if I look like I might want to. Okay, now let me tell you what I was just.